Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button. I am one of your hosts, Alejandro. With me is the anniversary man back from vacation.
Oh, hey everybody, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty good. How was vacation, Paul? Those 5 days where you could not quite disconnect, but did.
It was wonderful because I went out to Destin, and in November you would think that would be a very different approach, and it was because there was like nobody there, and it was quiet, it was peaceful, the water was really cold, but you could sit on the beach, read a book, hang out. I got to play a little bit of Hades, but not a whole lot of gaming. I watched a bunch of Marvel movies. And
You caught up on the MCU of this year, basically,
I
right?
did. Because I missed out on pretty much everything that came out this year, and I think last year too, partially. So Black Widow
last year nothing came out, so you didn't need to catch up.
So everything in this year, between Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and Eternals, watched all that. This isn't talking really about that.
Real quick, rank those three. Yeah. Best to worst.
Worst, Eternals. Middle tier, Black Widow, and top as absolutely Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that it's did as much as it did. I just enjoyed every minute of it, really. Every part that was explained, all of the action, the detail of work that each of those characters put into it. I loved it.
Yeah, and mine is also the number one is Shang-Chi, but middle is Eternals and Black Widow's bottom for me. And the thing is, those two are interchangeable for me. I appreciate the ambitious failure that is Eternals because it swings so high, whereas Black Widow was so It's like, this is I don't feel this is necessary, even though it didn't swing as hard and miss like Eternals. Sometimes I reward more ambition than just something that is. But also
I appreciated her family. If her family wasn't in it, it would have definitely been.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. It's a movie carried by its supporting cast, absolutely carried by them, and not her, which is insane. She waited that long to get a Black Widow movie, where she is like a supporting character there. But yeah, enough of the Marvel movies. Also, happy Thanksgiving, everyone, because whenever the full episode airs, it's gonna air right on it's gonna go live right on Thanksgiving. It'll go live exactly where it will, because this past episode, because we didn't have the thumbnail for the full episode, it had to go live on the weekend. So we have this thing where, because we always do the separate sections, we do the thumbnails, and I always forget, wait, where's the full episode thumbnail, because we did the 3 drops. And also, as a kind of like a housekeeping thing, this is the week where we finally are gonna have the Halo 3 Part 2 and 3 and Halo 4 Part 1 and 2 go live, because Twitch is stupid. It's not letting me download the highlights for some reason. It's been weird. And apparently it's been a weird thing in their backend recently, because they were getting swamped, so it's not giving me the download. So I haven't been able to like extract them, but I heard today is where it's gonna be fixed. So hopefully today Halo 3 Part 2 goes live, which we recorded almost 3 weeks ago, and Halo Part 2 goes live tomorrow, and then Halo 4 Part 1 goes live on Wednesday, and Halo 4 Part 2, the final part, because we just devoured that game on Part 2 before you went on vacation, goes live on Thursday.
Were we still going to be splitting the big one into 2 extra parts?
If it allows me to split, yes. If not, no. It's just going to be a big long one. And hopefully this week we start Halo 5. I'm so excited for you to experience the calamity that is the Halo 5 story. So
looking forward to seeing how it plays out. But
now, real quick, what do you remember of Halo 4?
Before replaying it, absolutely nothing. I remember in our stream, there's so many moments where I go, I don't remember that. Oh my gosh, when did that happen? Who is this? What is this thing? Like that one moment from the Didact disintegrating people. I was like, wait, I don't remember this happening at all.
Or the Snyder cut style, like flashback exposition of the noseless librarian that tells you like background of the Forerunners and blah blah blah.
I really mentally checked out during that scene as well.
Especially when I made the blip mention. This like, this reminds me of Justice League's Dark Side flashback.
Or Juno in Assassin's Creed 2.
Ah, yes. No, that's 3. Because it's Minerva is on 2.
Okay, so Minerva then.
Yes.
But Yeah, same idea.
All right, but enough of that. We got a few things to talk about, not as packed as last week where we had so much to chew on. And by the way, I'm so happy that I was able to cut in and kind of announce during that episode that Halo Infinite did release its multiplayer. No campaign though. No the campaign demo. So that was one of the rumors that didn't pan out, but yeah, we hit right, and then it was like good that we were talking right as we knew the rumors and then cutting in and confirming it right on. So very happy about that. I'm very happy about that game, but we'll talk about more about Halo Infinite multiplayer when we do our what we've been playing / topic section. Enough of that. We got the news. So Paul,
Press X
for some news. All right. So Paul, earlier it was back in July where this story kind of broke and has been just getting worse and worse. We've been talking about Activision Blizzard being sued by the state of California over the frat culture and very bad things happening within that company that have been unearthed by people that investigated over years. And then it seemed that it had been dying down a little bit because they were getting close to maybe settling with some of the lawsuits, or you know how things sometimes they burn and then they just develop in the background.
Yep.
Well, the Wall Street Journal said not so fast, because they were also doing their own investigation, and number one, the Wall Street Journal released a scathing expose about Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick this past week, citing that he actually was aware of some of the impropriety happening within his company, which is notable because he said to his investors / board members that he wasn't aware of such things happening, and even went as far as intervening in behalf of one of his employees that was recommended to be fired by HR due to sexual harassment, and instead was put into rehabilitation because he was the head of the Black Ops team. By the way, this guy actually resigned before this article came out. They knew they were investigating, so they're like, no, I'm out. Yes. So while the scathing article reignited calls for heads to roll in upper management, specifically aimed at Kotick, the Activision board released a statement saying they stand behind Kotick and believe he will be able to turn the ship around towards tolerance within the company. Editor's note: sounds a lot like when the head of a sports team comes forward in support of a struggling coach right before he's sacked. Just saying. As a follow-up, Wall Street Journal did release that sources tell them Kotick is considering resigning if he can quickly turn the ship around. Man. Oh, Activision. Oh. Obviously, the past few weeks we've been in the Ubisoft train. But man, he literally said to his investors, no, I wasn't aware of this. I'm going to do better. And in fact, I'm going to cut my forecasts. I'm going to cut my salary to the bare minimum as a promise that I'm going to turn this ship around. And then they come out saying that he knew. Just knowing that he intervened. Like, when your HR tells you, you have to fire this dude. Our investigations of sexual harassment, like, these are the results. We believe he has to be fired. And he intervened because, no, he's head of the Black Ops team. Our most successful Call of Duty sub-branch at a certain point. Man, that's a talk about moral rot. Jeez.
This company can burn for all
Absolutely.
I care.
Yes, man. And here's what's funny, because remember how I was telling you that when the whole lawsuit started coming out, that everything was aimed at Blizzard, and I didn't really care about Blizzard. And but then I was like, yeah, I haven't heard much from the Activision side, the Call of Duty side and all that. So I replayed the Call of Duty games because I was like, yeah, a little bad. I'm gonna take the moral stand of not buying the new one. My brother did, and wanted to play through a campaign. When this came out, I haven't even touched Vanguard. I feel so sickened. Because now it's like, oh, this was also in this other side.
I'm really glad that I didn't end up buying it. I mean, it helps that it wasn't really a great game of any note in the first place, but I think even then, if it was, God forbid, if it was Modern Warfare 2, now the remake or whatever they want to call it, I would still be like, this is just not acceptable, guys. Like, we gotta at a certain point go beyond the idea of, oh, but it's a good game, we should separate the art from the artist. And it's like, but if the art is still supporting the artist, y'all gotta get out of there.
Yes, and that's where it's so hard, because when this came out, there was another walkout that happened, because remember when they initially released the statement that it was like, yeah, they're coming to get us. The one that they ended up saying he was tone deaf, which is funny. I didn't put it here. the that initial letter was written, and it said it came from Fran Townsend, the correspondent that came from the Bush administration, the one that was like pro torture. If you remember back in the day, we talked about that. The thing is that apparently Bobby Kotick wrote that and used her as a scapegoat. So then he's like, oh yeah, that was tone deaf. This is the equivalent of the Spider-Man meme of like pointing each other things. So it's like he's the one calling himself tone deaf there. That's hilarious. And their stock just keeps dropping. You should check what the stock is for Activision Blizzard right now. Like, it has just been in like constant free fall. And it really makes me wonder how soon will this board keep like supporting him. It's like, it feels like we're watching the slow sinking of the Titanic, and instead of everyone just like jumping ships, it's like, no, we're going downhill. And it makes me wonder, because I heard that Bobby Kotick, he owns like 25% of this thing, so he has a pretty big majority stake, and he put a lot of the board members himself there. So
funny.
Yeah.
So the month, let's see, I'm gonna go 3 months. So at the start of, let's see, what was 3 months ago?
July?
August, I think.
Yeah.
It was at 85 at its highest, and it is now dropped down to $61.06,
which is
a lot.
For investors.
They
yeah. Usually
bounce around. Like if you drop more than like a couple of bucks, people start panicking.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that it dropped 20 is that's a lot.
How's it trending today? Is it still like in the red? Is it like going down?
Oh, it's definitely in the red. It's still like the one day was like it kind of wiggled a little bit and then again. So it's staying down there, and good for them, honestly.
Yeah, it's like, I never thought we were gonna get to this point where he might finally get sacked. He's been at Activision for like 30 years. Bobby Kotick, you know for how much he bought Activision when it was like under a different name and almost in the verge of bankruptcy in the 90s?
How much?
$500,000.
Ooh.
Look how much money, like how value Activision as an entity was these days.
Yeah.
And
especially with what Blizzard has been putting out. They I mean, you could argue they put out good things, but honestly, I wouldn't say any of it holds a candle to Call of Duty.
Yeah, if Blizzard used to, and that's the thing, like when Overwatch came out in 2016, it was a big deal. Won a bunch of Game of the Year awards. Yeah. In fact, the loot box obsession happened because of that. Everyone trended towards loot boxes because they were making so much money on loot boxes.
Yep.
Until that bubble finally popped. Thanks, Battlefront. So, but Blizzard hasn't been pulling its weight at all. And of course, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. Both Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2 have been further delayed despite them not even having a clear date. So the Blizzard side is just on fire, and Diablo Resurrected apparently didn't move the needle. It completely crashed and burned after a month. From like top 10, it came in at 5, and then it just dropped like bottom top 20 NPD. So, and Call of Duty, we talked about last week, 40% down year on year. It's like, they're in for a rude awakening.
Removed from the featured tab on PlayStation.
Yeah, no longer there. You have to look for it now. And
I didn't really have to do too much. I scrolled all the way down, and I think I still found it on their homepage, but it's not like at the top anymore.
Not like boom. And this is awkward for PlayStation, because the thing is, when this Wall Street Journal thing happened, both Sony and Microsoft kind of like made. The Sony one was like an internal leak that apparently Jim Ryan, the old dude that's like in the, they say we're gonna make the games do the talking. The one that's in that has been in the white haired dude from the big presentations they held. Apparently, like he sent an internal email saying that he was very worried about like some of the allegations coming up here. You know, kind of like a slight scolding, be like, yeah, how are you planning on fixing this, baby? We don't like this. But then Phil Spencer from Microsoft came in saying that he was thinking about reevaluating their relationship with Activision if this doesn't change. So when the two big guys, the ones that host your games, and then you make your majority of sales in console compared to PC, they're like showing us like a vote of no confidence. It's like, how soon before they're finally being like, F it, we're finally changing. Goodbye, Kotick. We're finally wiping the slate clean. This will be fascinating to see for the next week how this keeps developing, because this Wall Street Journal was a nuclear bomb that really reopened the wound that was the lawsuit. because the defense that he didn't know, and now we clearly know he did and intervened, was like, you can't come back from that. But we'll see. It's I still keep saying that sacrificing everything to the altar to the altar of Call of Duty eventually was gonna backfire. Look now, especially when you have a Call of Duty that's not really selling as well as you usually sell. So, and they do still have some properties in the Activision side that I care about: Spyro, Crash, Tony Hawk, but it's making it increasingly harder to want that with this. So good thing that Ubisoft still has series that I care about, despite the company being the worst creatively right now. But yeah, it's funny because remember, Ubisoft was the one that got ravaged by sexual impropriety claims, and they cleaned house last year. But that has been kind of yeah, it has been cleaned out. Yeah, and they're no longer talked about that. Yeah, right now everyone that talks about it is just how creatively bankrupt they seem. So enough of that. Number 2, the Game Awards, which aired on December 9th, 2021, has finally released their list of nominees for the 2021 edition of the show. Amongst many categories, and I tell you, there's so many, I'm not even going to read them. The important one is the nominees for Game of the Year, which includes Deathloop, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. What do you think?
I think it's just about lines up with everything that we talked about, honestly. Mm-hmm. The only one that I kind of forgot about was Psychonauts 2, admittedly. All the rest were like, oh yeah, absolutely, that'll definitely show up there. And honestly, I'm so glad to see that it's such a range of genres. Oh, yes. It is everything from 2D platformer, first person, whatever Deathloop is, honestly.
It's a shooter. It's a first-person shooter. Yeah.
Yeah. First-person shooter, and then you got Ratchet and Clank, third-person. That's almost not really a platformer, but
it's like a platformer shooter sort of thing, hybrid.
Return of the platformers, I guess. And then, of course, Resident Evil Village being a first-person, but mostly horror, with that shooter flair. And I don't know which one of these is going to take it home, honestly.
That's what's so exciting about it. This reminds me of 2019.
Yeah.
The year that had Super
Smash. What was out then?
They nominated Super Smash Bros. Ultimate because it came out in December. And the thing with the Game Awards, this is one of the things that I have a big problem with the Game Awards, is that sometimes the categories snub what comes out in November and December sometimes, because they have to have like a nomination because it takes them so long to make the packages and everything for the show. That happens in December, and for some reason he just doesn't want to do it in January, which is usually when we get the Oscars or the Golden Globes. If you notice, that always happens early in the year to kind of take into full account the previous year. Notably, in 2019, Jedi Fallen Order missed out on being in the Game of the Year nominees because it came out the day, November 15th, which was the cutoff date of that year. Ooh. Which sucked. And then, of course, the next year with a category filled with games like Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us Part 2, Ori, Doom Eternal, and I don't remember whatever else was nominated for 2020, which were bigger bangers. Jedi Fallen Order was not gonna stand there compared to when it stood out in the previous year. So in 2019, it was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Resident Evil 2 Remake, Death Stranding, Sekiro, and Control. And another one that I don't remember much, but Sekiro won. Which, not my pick.
I mean, I liked Sekiro a lot, and it perfected the Souls style of gameplay with its animations and
tight combat,
because it wasn't as much about like the invincibility frames of dodging. It was about just getting that perfect timing to deflect, and it made it look a lot more spectacular, especially for gameplay watches. One of my favorite game playthroughs of all time was one of the people that I watch on YouTube going through Sekiro and just watching it like a movie. Ooh. As he put like a little background music on like the triumphant moments of it and just getting those perfect shots. It was so fun to watch.
The pairing of that game is very satisfying. I will give it that. It's just the too damn hard. Makes.
Ooh. And I agree, that is one of the biggest problems, and I mean we've talked about that separately on other moments, but I truly wish more people could play something like Sekiro because it is so fun, honestly. And
I would say it's funny that we got Jedi Fallen Order the same year, because that was basically, it's so funny that it was so similar to Sekiro, despite the game having been in development for a bit, and everyone be like, if Sekiro is too hard for you, Jedi Fallen Order, despite being a hard game, it has an easy mode, and it can kind of give you an idea of how to do the parries and all that. And that's always been my thing with Fallen Order. We talked about it, I think it was last week when we heard the new senior combat designer that joined.
Yeah.
Jedi Fallen Order is a game I absolutely love, but I am aware that it's so unrefined. It has so many problems.
It really does make sense, because when you put it up next to Sekiro, it's night and day, because they feel like they're two different games that came out in different amounts of years, because oh my gosh, Sekiro is like perfect in every way, on like the facial look of everything, the story, the just polish, and Jedi Fallen Order is like, especially looking at those faces, man.
Yes.
I keep bringing it up, but whenever they stop giving me nightmares, I will stop talking about it.
Exactly.
But yes, just to step away from it, I think this is another one of those years where it's like anything could win, and whatever does win, it'll feel like it deserved it, because each of these.
Which one do you want it to win? Like, if it was you, like, I would want this one to win.
If I'm gonna be biased, I want either Deathloop or Resident Evil Village to win, because Resident Evil Village definitely had like some of the most gameplay that I played out of a new game this year, and Deathloop.
You beat it twice, like almost immediately.
3 times.
Yes.
And then I decided I had to delete it because I needed space on my PS5 for everything else to play. And I was like, I guess I've played enough of it, but like if it was still on there, I would still be playing it to at least finish through that third playthrough. For Deathloop, I feel like it still got snubbed in the commercial department of like, people kind of played it, or they didn't give it enough of a shot, or they just didn't try it. And I feel like if
sale
it does
drop.
win, I know, exactly. We were talking about that on the chat. But if it wins, then way more people every time always jump in and try that. The other sleeper wild card would be It Takes Two, because not enough people played it, and I feel like a lot of people should. And I think it was a really great style of game, and it's perfecting that art of 2D, not 2D, 2-player, single player-ish.
Yeah.
Heavy story. There it is.
Here's what's funny, and I'm gonna ask you because I think It Takes Two is on Game Pass. If you can download it, so I can kind of play through it. It Takes Two is the only one of these games that I haven't played, and I feel it based on the chatter I've seen from the people that nominate these things, because these are voted by media and influencers, like some of the big, like, think Alana Pierce, like that kind of influencer. They give their nominees for this. And just based on the chatter, it seems that a lot of people are championing It Takes Two, which warms my soul, because it's such a unique game compared to these other ones. Exactly. And that's the thing, like, I love Metroid Dread. I've talked about it. I kind of don't want Metroid Dread to win just to troll PJ.
I have both my spite-filled reason why I don't want it to win, but I also don't think it'll win, because the people that did play it, I feel like it's not enough compared to everything else, where it was like critics loved it and everyone loved it. And even though critics are the ones that choose this kind of an answer, I still think that the audience takes, as far as the critic's opinion, takes value as well, because they're like, oh, it had its problems, so maybe this one instead, rather than Metroid Dread or whatever.
I will say, like, another one that I know it's not gonna win is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. That's one of my favorite games this year, but I've also talked a little bit, when you put me on the spot, that I went on that rant in our chat that as great of a game as it is, like, it got 9 out of 10s and all that, and I feel that's where I would put it. It has to be called out that it being put as the showcase of the SSD was a little bit of a bill of goods. It wasn't as revolutionary a feature as they were claiming it was gonna be. It's like it was more scripted and a bunch of stuff, but it's an incredibly beautiful game, especially now that I'm watching it on my 4K TV and with HDR on and all edited. Games shouldn't be this pretty. Many times this year I'm like, man, I think you said that with Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. That when you finally got to see it in 4K, it was like, man, the games shouldn't be this pretty. And Psychonauts 2, I need to finish, but many people have heard so many great things about Psychonauts 2, and that's on Game Pass. My thing is that, remember what I told you, that I feel like my Xbox One is finally at the spot where it's like, it's just too old to really make any game that I play on it right now, especially if it's newer, to feel worth it. I kind of felt that way with Psychonauts 2. It was the best one from that bunch of games that I downloaded that one time, and I was like, no, I'm not liking how this feels. Delete. It's the only one that was the most solid. But it's still, I know that if I had like a Series X, for example, or even an S, it would perform better. So even though I think I have Game Pass on PC, maybe I'll play it there, because I have a really good PC for it, like I told with Forza Horizon. Which, by the way, a lot of people, calamity online that Forza Horizon wasn't nominated here, especially because a lot of people are like, well, the Forza Horizon not released on time, right on time, because it came out on like November 5th. So it's like, was that too late? But it's like, no, because Forza Horizon is nominated in other categories that it's not Game of the Year. And I tell you, Forza Horizon 5 is the best reviewed game this year. So why in the heck is it not nominated here?
Hot take, I would be okay with either Deathloop or Rift Apart being removed.
Yes. I would even say remove Rift Apart. I love that game, but I would say, like, I think Forza Horizon is just more deserving. It's just so solid. Such a great racing. I'm not a racing guy, and I'm championing that game.
Exactly. That's the thing, because people that aren't into big racing games are still loving this. Like, all of my friends that I play Siege and Battlefield and all that stuff with, they're like, oh, dude, like, have y'all played Forza Horizon 5? Because this game's really fun. And it makes my heart so warm, because they're usually very big, cynical people.
Especially towards a racer.
Yes. And that's such like there's little amount of crossover in a game like that. So I'm just really glad that it's happening.
I'm glad that I know that at least in individual, because that's the thing, like, the Game Awards is not the Game of the Year that really matters.
Which is nice.
The Game Awards is the one that sets the tone and at least gives you an idea of where individual outlets are going to go. The one that has really prestige in the Game Awards is the DICE Awards and the BAFTA Awards. The DICE Awards.
I remember the BAFTA.
Yeah, the BAFTA is over in Britain. That happens like in March, because it has like a really prestige. It's look at the games in a more prestige way, and DICE Awards are developer voted, so the peers vote for each. So it's like you know that everyone that votes for a game, it comes from like authoritative perspective, which is developers.
When do those come out?
That's on February. DICE is on
Okay, so
February.
that actually follows up with what you were saying about how some award shows like that should wait until after the year's over. Now the question is, were those? Does that mean that something like Halo Infinite would be nominated for it?
It could. We'll see. Like that in those, it could. Yeah.
It wouldn't be guaranteed, but I'm just saying, like, there's no cutoff until like the end of that year, as opposed to the Game Awards.
Yes, and the Game Awards is because that's the ones that nominate this are select people from big outlets, the IGNs, the GameSpots, the Polygons, the Game Informers, plus the influencers like the Kinda Funnies and all of that. They're the ones that all collectively together put the nominees here. It at least gives you the notion of what you're gonna see win Game of the Year from each outlet as the month of December goes through. So Game Awards is a nice beginning, and because it's so public, I think the only thing that makes a Game Awards so big compared to individual Game of the Year wins is the fact that a lot of people that maybe don't read IGNs and all of that, they watch the Game Awards. A lot of people watch Game Awards. Has a huge viewership, and
you could argue that it's because of all the announcements,
but at the same time, like, it at least puts it into your mind of like, oh, that thing won Game of the Year in this show. So yeah, something to notice there. And for me, I hope It Takes Two wins it, just based on everything that I've heard, because it seems the more unique out of all of this. And I hope to God Metroid Dread doesn't win it, just to see just to spite PJ, because I love spiting him.
We know he doesn't actually watch this anyway.
Exactly. So just to spite him, because he's so up that game's ass that sometimes it can get really annoying. It's great. It's a great.
Go look at our Metroid Dread chat. It's fun.
Yes, it's a great game. I'm not gonna deny it, but it's like, it's not this superlative thing. It's a really great 9 out of 10 for me. 7 out of 10 for you. So number 3, delays, Paul. It's still happening. Yep. The good thing they're happening around the time that we said they were gonna happen. So The Saints Row reimagining has been officially delayed. Originally slated to release on February 25th, it's been pushed all the way to August 2022, citing the need for more time to get it right. Editorial note, but you can read between the lines that it absolutely needed to get the heck out of the February bloodbath, especially when Elden Ring got put in that date after it got pushed from January. In other date shifts, Sifu, the one you're looking forward to, actually moved up. Originally scheduled to release on February 22nd, 2022, the day that Destiny 2 The Witch Queen was going to come out, and that was going to be my focus, so Sifu was dead to me at that point. And now officially releasing on February 8th.
I'm happy. At least for that. I picture, as you were writing or reading this to me, I pictured the opening scene of the Hunger Games when they actually hit the button and it begins. I want people to superimpose all of the game names over each of the players as they rip each other apart and stab each other to death and everything. And then you see something like Sifu as Katniss that like ducks out the side immediately, because it's just looking more and more like absolute chaos, and anything that stays in there that's not either going to immediately make waves or is not the biggest hitter is going to be swamped. And any game developer that's worth anything needs to know that and needs to get the heck out of it. I will accept any delays that gets them out of that point because it'll give them more of an option.
Yeah, like you don't even go into March. March is also equally packed. Just the February March thing.
Go to April or beyond.
Yes,
at least.
And the thing is that if you're able to, if your game is basically ready and or in pretty decent shape to release, move it up.
Oh yeah,
January
that's the ideal.
Yeah, like January, like for example, Rainbow Six Extraction, it finally has a late January release, and it actually cut its price. It's now a $40 game instead of a $60 game.
Forgot about I saw that this morning and I wanted to say something about it, but I'll let you finish your thought first.
Yeah, so like for example, now January is all Rainbow Six Extraction now. They got that. So like for example, Horizon Forbidden West has a February 18, 2022 release date. If it's ready, move it up. Like if it actually can be released, just move it up a little bit and let the bloodbath happen over there. Just like for example, I know a lot of people, there's a Venn diagram of people that want to play Horizon that also want to play Elden Ring. Those games are literally 1 week apart, so I would say it would behoove Horizon to maybe move up a little bit so it can give people 2 weeks to really sink their teeth in, enjoy it, and then move it over to Elden Ring, which had their tech test that I signed up for and didn't get picked up. Sad panda.
You tried.
I tried. And a lot of praise for that game. So Souls games now have that. Ever since Sekiro was like a Game of the Year contender that actually won Game Awards and other places, you know that From Software Souls-like is a big deal now. So
it is. It's mainstream. It's not niche anymore. Back when I picked up Dark Souls 1 on the 360, pre-owned at a GameStop for like $15 or something, and now it's like the thing to copy and replicate all over the place.
Exactly. So yeah, it's I would hope more people, if they see the opportunity, just move up. Even Dying Light, like that's on February 4th.
Oh, that's true.
They should move up to January, back to where Dying Light 1 became big in a January release.
The only reason that they did well is because there's literally nothing else to buy. That's exactly why I bought it and ended up championing it for several years. And now it's like, I feel like it's still kind of too little too late, but we'll see. I mean, it'll do something. And the back on Rainbow Six Extraction, just to mention it before we move on, I think it's really funny that they lowered their price, because I watched the YouTube video it was like an ad that popped up before my video that I was watching, and they were like, all right, it was like a Billy Mays thing where he was like, oh, but there's more. Not only did we drop it by like $20 to $39.99, but if you pre-order now, you get this pack with all these skins and the weapon skins as well. And you also get two special coupons to play with two extra friends for 14 days.
Yes.
I was like, my goodness, it feels like an infomercial, because they kept trying to like, please buy our game. please,
Mhm.
please pre-order it. Please buy our
Yes.
game. We'll do anything.
Yes, and I think it's
Oh
nice
my
that they're
gosh.
adding a friend pass for that one. Just
They
to,
need to, yeah,
yeah.
because I mean, it was a 3-player co-op game, so it makes sense that they give you 2.
Mhm.
It's just so funny how desperate it sounded, where they were like, all right, clearly we are not getting the sales figures for the pre-orders that we want.
Mhm.
Let's just give them everything we possibly can. The trifecta.
And I'll still say that I'm glad that they're experimenting with the price range. Not everything has to be
I
$60
agree.
and not everything has to be $70. In fact, like I feel a game like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart didn't need to be $70. And there's my dog.
No. It's okay.
Yes. And Returnal, another snub from the Game of the Year awards. Again, that a lot of people championed this year.
Didn't need to be 70.
It didn't need to be 70 either. I bought it for 50. I thought, okay, this is more acceptable.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Keep moving your release dates, people. Consider consider everyone's wallets. Or if not,
Here is a lot of days.
Yes.
You can find another one.
there's 9 months ahead in 2022. No one knows release dates yet. So you have April and May there. You can fill that up. So, but a lot of these people have their financials by March, so they gotta release it by then. That's a problem. So, unless you just want to take that hit with investors.
True.
Number 4, MultiVersus. The WB take on the Smash Bros. Series has been officially revealed, scheduled to be released in 2022 as a free-to-play game on all consoles except Switch. Did you watch the reveal trailer of that?
Did.
The 4-minute everyone explaining.
Yeah, what were you gonna say?
I want to say that's how you do it. That's a good way to like engender goodwill about your product, and especially on the heels of the Nickelodeon All-Star Brawler that is so clowned on because it was so cheaply made that didn't even have the voices.
Well, I was listening to one of the guys, Maximilian Dude, and he does daily fighting game videos. So he was like really in depth knowledge about this stuff, and so he was talking about how the choice, especially for getting such top name actors for like Kevin Conroy and the actual voice of Shaggy from the live action, like that would have taken time and money. So like it wasn't necessarily a response to Nickelodeon's thing, but what I loved was how he mentioned that the gameplay was slowed down, is his theory, because they want you to get an idea of what everything's going on, because he went back and played it like plus like 1.25 speed, and it looked like a normal fighting game again. So the one criticism people were saying is like it feels slow, it feels like they're like in soup almost moving around, but apparently it's going to be a much quicker game as well. And just the fact that WB has so many options for this game, and all of the stuff that they're doing with this freaking Ultra Instinct Shaggy showing up as the meme,
beating Superman.
They can throw up anything in this game, and people are gonna go nuts for it for years.
I appreciate
polish it.
Yeah, I appreciate the art style also. It seems like they found like a middle ground to make all these disparate properties kind of make sense within this game.
Oh yeah.
Like I believe Bugs Bunny is in the same place as Batman. I believe Arya Stark is in the same place as Superman, and also yes, Gandalf was originally leaked. It wasn't in this roster, so it's obviously gonna happen. Like,
I mean, yeah.
Yes, and the fact that it's free to play, it's such a great way of getting people in. Now everyone will gonna see, because PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale, when it came out in 2012, a lot of people are like, oh, this is Smash Clone and not all of that. And this seems like
before its time.
Yeah, they should have waited until now. They absolutely should have waited. This is the time now.
I think if they did one now, they would crush it.
I don't think they won, because the first one failed for them so hard and that's Sony. When something fails for them, they don't do it again.
Well,
so,
like you said though, or we talked about it before, they didn't have the right mascots for that, but now they have any amount that they can pick from, because they've reinvigorated old series and they've created new ones that you have more than you can just rely on something like Big Daddy from BioShock. Or
Dante from DMC that hadn't even come out when that game came out. Oh my
gosh, don't even get me started on that one. But
it felt more like a marketing vehicle than a celebration. That was a problem with how they started filling up that roster, not even having Cloud or Crash Bandicoot or Tomb Raider, things that were intrinsic to PlayStation. So that's what that failed. And obviously this is gonna be free to play. They kept mentioning that this game's gonna have dedicated servers or something that they're gonna do with their netcode that it's basically you making a list to appeal to the fighting community of things. I was like, yes, they get it, because obviously Smash Online is not the best, because Switch Online is not the best, and it's hilarious that it's not gonna be on Switch, which maybe it will later, but I wonder if they've thought, if we're in the system that has Smash Bros, people are gonna see this game and be like, why don't we just get Smash Bros?
Speaking of fighting game reveals, Alejandro, did you hear about the fighting game that got revealed that's in the universe of League of Legends?
Was it a fighting game? Because I know there's a turn-based RPG.
No, there's a 2D fighting game in the style of like the Arc System Works,
Guilty
Dragon
Gear?
Ball Fighters and Guilty Gear that just got revealed. They did like a 4-minute behind-the-scenes image of it. Look that up eventually, and it looks really clean. Same system of like they really want to appeal to that big fighting game community, but like really have it so that anybody can pick it up and enjoy a nice, really colorful action game that it's just fighting games are eating good right now, and the people that like them are eating equally so.
And now they mentioned League of Legends, like I'm shocked how they are finally diversifying themselves other than just that stupid MOBA. Like Arcane, the Netflix thing, I've heard so many good things about it. I haven't seen it yet.
Me neither.
But yeah, I will.
I want to watch it now because I was out of town when it came out, I think, and I didn't have the opportunity to. But people are realizing that stylized CG is like the way to go, because like you have Castlevania where it kind of hit a wall with a lot of people because they're like, oh, it's anime style, and for whatever reason that's like such a stigma. But then you put it in CG as stylized as you want, and people will eat it up. And it's apparently fantastically animated,
and the turn-based RPG and this bunch of stuff that they're releasing. I'm like, yes, do that. Take a universe that's been like known for one thing and diverse. I think even Valorant was kind of League of Legends adjacent in a way.
It was trying to do something like that. Yeah.
So, that's good. So, number 5, a PSA. This is quick. Black Friday sales are officially out with many big recent games. Far Cry 6, Guardians of the Galaxy, Deathloop, to mention a few. There's many. All retailing around $40 or even $30. So if you've been looking for sales, definitely check them out. By the way, like
this is the time.
This is the time. By the way, Spider-Man releases in Marvel's Avengers next week, and the game is $16. So if you have a modicum of any interest to get that game, like with a lot of content at the very minimum, it's $16. Get it, I would say. What are you gonna get, Paul?
I'm probably gonna end up getting Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm putting it off a little bit. I just spoke actually with my wife about the whole Christmas gift problem that I was having with myself, and it turns out I had only told her about it. She hasn't told anyone else, so I'm in the clear for if I want to get anything that's deeply on sale, and wait to get some other things.
Just keep in mind, this sale goes all the way to November 29th, so if you want to get something of this, definitely get it now. This is as cheap as it's gonna get right now. I took the plunge and got Far Cry 6 against my own will, and Demon's Souls that I have been wanting to get, but I was like, I don't want to spend $70 in this. I got it for $40. That was very, very good idea.
I think.
So, final story. Rockstar apologized for the quality of the Grand Theft Auto: The Trilogy Definitive Edition, and the brunt of their apology is aimed at the PC community, where the game had to be janked out of their launcher. And the make good they're giving that community is the relisting of the old versions of the games. And if you purchase the demaster, as I like calling it, you get those for free. No news about if they'll release the console ones. That game is a continue. Like, do you see the video of if you start moving the car left and right in GTA 3, it starts embiggening itself?
What?
Yes. So go left, right, and then the car just massively increases its size.
Oh my goodness! Every day it feels like there's something new about that game that is just breaking further.
Yes.
And it's the funniest thing, because I had no horse in that, and I've said that several times now, and it's just so funny because it's scummy, it's terrible, it's like checking boxes for cheap remasters, and I thought I had a bottom with that, and it
Mhm.
seems to be even lower now.
Yes.
Because what's the worst thing you could do is delist the original thing and put out a
The
worse
worst
version.
one. Yeah. Oh
I
man.
I want to go back sometime and think about what we thought when this was still rumored and be like, oh, what do we think of this? I don't
Yes.
remember what we were saying. I think we
I
were optimistic,
yes.
honestly.
To me, it's like when it was announced that they were removing it.
You were more pessimistic than I was on that one.
Yes, it's more like I get, especially when they announced the new one. I was like, I kind of get it. Especially this was when I was more optimistic. You were you were the more
Was I?
pessimistic one.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I've been re-listening to our old episodes just so we don't repeat stuff or
Yeah.
kind of keep our opinions in check and not feel like we're like bouncing back and forth or contradicting ourselves. And I did say that. I always said that the old versions of those games just don't play well. They absolutely don't.
That's true.
So when they released the list of this is gonna be at 4K, it's gonna run at 60 in the new hardware, it's gonna have GTA 5 style controls, which by the way
what kills me.
Yeah, which by the way, I only played San Andreas because it was on Game Pass. It's the GTA 5 control scheme, but it's still the same type of aiming. It's just locked on. There's like no single aiming. It's just they overimpose the GTA 5 control scheme over the feel of that game, and those games don't feel good, but at the very least they control better. The problem is that everything else is so foobar that it's insanity that they charged as much as they did. And I'm glad that Game Pass allowed me to at least get it out of my system, because I was like, okay, this is how all these games are gonna feel. I'm glad I didn't have to spend the 60 for that.
I'm really glad they put it on Game Pass, because it was a nice little warning for everyone not to have to buy it, because now I know for sure. No.
Yes, and GTA 3 is joining PS Now on December. That's one that I've always been curious, because GTA 3 turned 20 this year, and I haven't heard as much calamity out of GTA 3 as I heard of.
It's 20?
Yeah, 20 years this year. Same as
Halo.
And Metal Gear.
I was like, man. Oh, yeah, and Metal Gear.
Metal Gear 2. And Metal Gear 2. It's Metal Gear Solid 2.
Speaking of which, you remember that thing that I retweeted about the spiritual successor to
Metal Gear Solid? I screamed when I saw that video.
So
I was like,
good.
I cannot believe someone is doing it. An actual like Metal Gear Solid 1, 2 style stealth game. And I think it's on Steam. I don't know if it's on console, but if that thing hits console, I'm getting it, because I need that kind of stealth, tactical stealth fix in my life. You looking it up?
I don't remember what it was called, honestly.
Just look at your tweets.
Was that what it was called?
Yeah, just look at your tweets.
Yeah, I gotta go back and find all that nonsense, because who knows. But man, I say important things while I go find it.
Yes, I'm glad Rockstar at the very least is not so high and mighty that they're like, whatever, it is what it is. But for a company that's so focused on quality, undetected.
Yeah, it's listed on Steam. I don't know when it's supposed to show up. It's on wish list on Steam.
Someday it will, and then someday it will release on console. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on that. Rockstar, the bastion of quality, Rockstar, the bastion of quality. Recently, I'm saving I was gonna mention this when we got to what we've been playing. I reinstalled and I'm replaying Red Dead 2 also.
Yeah.
Because I wanted
to tell us those thoughts.
Yes, because I has been with that 4K TV that I got. I've just been like, what does this game look like in 4K? I don't think I did, and my God. And just been replaying that. I think it made me reappreciate Red Dead 2 more after playing GT San Andreas on Game Pass, because I was like, man, this is a mightily polished video game compared to that. So
real quick, how far are you in that?
I'm still in chapter 2, which is once you get out of the snow.
Yeah. Okay. Because I would say the game starts off phenomenal through like the first 3 chapters, even maybe into 4, but then 5 and 6 it just.
Chapter 5 is the one that I'm dreading, because that's the island.
Yeah.
And then chapter 6 is the end of Arthur Morgan before the 10-hour epilogue where you play as John Marston.
Right.
So,
which I appreciate in some ways, but it was like I don't know if he really needed to do that, guys.
Yes, and that's the thing. That's a game that is like, it could have been much shorter. They just made a lot of game. That's the thing. I feel Red Dead could have made the argument that it could have come out as $100 game and it would have been worth it, because there's a lot of game, especially the level of detail and quality that screams from every pixel on that screen. That's what's insane. I've been like more appreciative of the details, like, man. And I feel I'm actually enjoying it more than I did in 2018, because in 2018 I was trying to finish it on time, and I feel that's a game that not designed for that kind of pace. You kind of have to adapt to its pace, and when you adapt to its pace, it's kind of soothing.
It is.
It really is.
See, and that's what I was telling you so long. That's why I stayed with the multiplayer for so long, because you can just sit out there and look at the vistas, the mountainous ranges, the snow-capped mountains, the deserts, whatever your vibe is, even the swamps. It's just so calming. But it's just all the stuff that they. It
is like clearly one of the best games ever made, and I put quotes in "made" because obviously there's some qualms to criticize. Our good old Nicky Jake, he put that on blast.
Oh, yes.
A little bit, especially when it comes to missions, but
he
when
put
it comes
words into what I was feeling that I couldn't figure out.
Yes, but it's still an impressive piece of thing, and that's the thing. That's what Rockstar was for me, and it's so sad that this trilogy, not even close to representing the quality bar that they used to aim for. So, but at least they're gonna make good to the PC community. I wish they would just relist the ones on the PS2 playable on PS4 classics that you could play on PS5, just to so people can have that.
It's easy for them to just relist it as well.
It's so easy,
like, why are you waiting?
Exactly. So
they just want the holiday sales, and then they're gonna relist it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's Take-Two Interactive, so like I told you, they can be some of the most scummy companies, but because they're so removed from the limelight, you don't see the name Take-Two Interactive in like the box. You see Rockstar, you see 2K, you see those things. So they're able to kind of like be back and be scummy without really being letting everything else.
Take-Two because they're always going to take 2 shots at actually releasing something.
Yes. And with that, we have finished the news section of the show. If you're watching or listening to the full version, we're now officially transitioning to what have we been playing /topic.
Hey everybody, how's it going? This is your host Paul. It's great to see everybody, and with me is my lovely co-host
Alejandro. You suddenly forgot that you were gonna host this?
I forgot that I was hosting. I was just sitting there like, yes, I've been recently blinded by my webcam light, and I just forgot how to do anything all of a sudden. Alejandro, how you been?
I've been good. It's been a day. How about you?
It has also been a day, several hours in fact. I had some fun for the most part, but it was slightly slowed down by the fact that I had to drive almost an hour to bring my wife her wallet, unfortunately.
Well, I was waiting for you to record. I was ready for it to be early, and then I was like, yeah, we're going to have to record later.
I was planning for it, but when the duty calls, you don't question why, you just do it. And let me get some Chick-fil-A on the way, though, so it's kind of a win-win in the end.
I wish I had Chick-fil-A here. Man,
I know. It's been a while since I've gone to it, honestly, and I just love those waffle fries, let me tell you. What I did do is I played some games this week, Alejandro, especially since I came back. I was a little starved for my favorite hobby. So I played a lot of things, and then you just came out of the woodwork with like 20 of your own.
Yeah. So, especially when I started listing them, I was like, oh yeah. Because that's the thing. This is just like played them for a little bit, but it's basically everything that I kind of touched within the last week. So it just turns out that there's a few of these games that we kind of cross-played in a way. So we're starting with both of the games that we both played, Paul. So which is one of those?
One of those, not together, but I'll say at least for the Halo series, I'll start with that real quick. We played through on stream all of Halo 4. Technically, that was right before I left, but we didn't really get to talk about it, so I'm leaving that here. We also played Halo 5. We began that.
The first 2 missions.
Yep, and we got to play Halo Infinite's multiplayer.
Not together.
Not
but
together,
on
but
our
we
own
did get
volition.
to at some point play that and try it out. And then, of course, we played a few other things. But first, let's talk about the Halo series, Alejandro.
So we're basically a week and 2 days removed from Halo 4. A week and 2 days removed. How are you feeling about Halo 4?
I enjoyed it much more than the first time I played it, that's for sure. I'm just gonna put this down for a second. I don't remember anything about Halo 4 when I played through it. So many details outside of the weird Metroid Prime-esque aesthetic that it switched to. I just remember Chief simping over his e-girl the whole time, and the cool Sentinels that they look cooler from the front, where they have like the crazy skull underneath their armor, but then the back they kind of look like a weird beetle. So that was weird, but anyway, I enjoyed the heck out of it. I like the guns. The environment was cool, especially near the end in the space station. I really liked that vibe much more than like the world that they introduced. And I was okay with them kind of jumping around with all the other stuff. Of course, no mention, well, barely a mention of the Flood, but no appearance of them.
In fact, they mentioned the Flood and you missed it. I was like, oh, they actually mentioned the Flood here.
You called it out, and I was like, oh, really? Whoa. Because that was one thing I remember people talking about, I think, was that there was no Flood in Halo 4. Which, I mean, I guess it's all right. I would say that the enemies could use some better designing, I guess. I'm just not a fan of the dog enemies, not a fan of the drone enemies. The Sentinels are like the only ones I kind of liked, and there was like, that was the only 3 there were. And then, of course, the Covenant are the Covenant, and they're fantastic. So I enjoyed that. And, of course, it's the redesign time. So we got to see the redesign for everybody. And it's hit or miss sometimes. But
now, with Halo 5, most of those enemies are still in, but you fight them differently. How do you feel? How do you feel with the different feel of Halo 5 compared to like 4? Now that we started that.
That's actually where it was funny, because it feels like Halo 4 just better. And so gameplay wise, like you said, I'm enjoying myself, and it's weird. I didn't expect to enjoy myself. I didn't expect to vibe with any of it. I mean, some of the armor is still a little weird. The story's still all over the place and doesn't make any sense. I mean, Buck says it the best. He's like, I miss ODST. I miss the day where you could just point and click and none of this gray area BS.
Yes.
And that's basically how I feel about everything that they introduced in 4 and 5. But
yeah, to me, it's like sugar high. Halo 4 and 5 is like, I enjoyed it in the moment, especially when we streamed again. Like, Halo 4 is always one that is the Mario Odyssey syndrome for me. When I think about it while I'm not playing it, I don't think of it as fondly, but when I play it, I really like it. And I feel the same way with Halo 5, but I always stand by Halo 5 being super fun to play. That is just that story, and we haven't even gotten just the things that we played. We haven't even gotten to the point that thing starts like meandering or just going completely off the rails. So I can't wait for you to see that. But how about Halo Infinite multiplayer? The one thing that dropped the day after you had left.
I know.
For vacation, and I was so glad it did.
I was sad that I was missing it right at the start, but I'm glad I had something to look forward to when I got back, because everything that I was seeing was just hype all over the place. Everything feels really great. Where
do you play it though?
I play it on PC.
Okay.
I want to try it on Xbox One just to see how bad it is.
Just
really?
Don't. It's not that it's bad, but it's like, it's gonna feel just so much worse in comparison to PC. Just don't. Just keep it in PC right now.
Good to know. Well, I will say, so personal preference, one negative out of the way is I still don't like when games zoom in and they keep it on the side of the gun. Just give us some kind of iron sights. Make it fake like Halo 5. I know it's a personal thing. It just bugs the heck out of me when you're like, all right, let me try to zoom in and get some actual accuracy. And it's like,
Be-
Like what is this?
No,
What is this
no.
nonsense? Holding the gun
And
to
I
the side.
1,000% disagree with that. I love how they did ADS on Halo Infinite because it feels like Halo. It's still like, because it's not just a scope. It doesn't make you feel like you have to rely all the time on having to holding your left trigger. Halo, it's an over the shoulder shooter where you have to like constantly be spraying while you're jumping and meleeing and grenade. So I'm glad that they found that middle spot, because obviously you have to do ADS because that's kind of like the shooter, standard. But they found a way for it to still feel like Halo in a way that it didn't do in 5, because in 5 you zoom in a bunch of stuff.
And it feels great. And any other moment besides that, when you're driving, when you're shooting, when you're in the middle of all of the back and forth stuff, and sometimes the time to kill does bug me a little bit, especially being spoiled now, because you have to basically dump an entire magazine plus a grenade to kill somebody.
Not really.
And I'm like, I know, it's unless you hit all of the bullets, then you need a grenade to add to that.
That tells me you're not just you're having bad aim. You better get
probably,
good.
That's one other problem is I was using the pistol, and because it's like off to the side, it's jacking me up with my aim, and I don't know why. I just can't line it up on the sights. And in Halo 5, I was just, all right, I see exactly what I need to get, and it works. I don't know if it's just an aesthetic thing because it's functionally the same. It feels weird.
I don't understand why you have the problem. The reticle is always the reticle.
I know.
That's the thing. And in Halo 5, it's just basically the aesthetic of just moving the weapon to the middle. But it's still a reticle.
I'm aware of the absolute hypocritical type of statement that is, but I don't know. It's just a weird personal thing. But that's why I wanted to get that negative out of the way, because everything else has been fantastically fun. The aesthetic has been upgraded from the weird like Hypertron style of the Spartans in Halo 5, because I was looking at some of the customization that they offered in Halo 5, and then you compare it to this, and it's a lot like bulkier, it's a lot meatier, it feels good. One other thing, the prosthetics for like the arm and the legs look jacked up compared to the rest of the armor. It looks like, all right, we got this super high-tech awesome stuff, and then you're like, oh, you got a fake arm or a fake leg, we're just gonna put some cheap iron right on there and you're good to go, buddy. But besides that, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm giving it a hard time. I really like that you can add decals and stuff to your guns. I don't know if that was a thing in the past, but it's really cool. Just throwing stuff on the side of my gun. It's kind of neat. Makes it feel more personal, and me and customization. I just love the feeling of big team battle. I am always a stand for that game type from the beginning, back when I used to think, 16 players at the same time, this is crazy, there's so many people on the maps, I've never seen this before. And of course my cats are going nuts in the background. But overall, I'm enjoying it. It feels great. But give me your thoughts.
I haven't had this much fun with a competitive shooter in years. In fact, I have been one that have just basically disowned the idea of playing competitively. The only one that kind of still had me for a bit was Destiny, just for the fact that it was so intrinsically tied to everything else that I did in that game that I could tolerate it. Yeah. But I'm not the one that would, by choice, pick like, let me play just a team deathmatch here, and that's all I'm gonna be playing. I like playing more story stuff. I like playing single player stuff, and I did not expect, like, I knew it would feel this way because I did play the technical test and I was very impressed with how it ran back then. And this is just as solid, if not more solid now. So that again, it brings back that point that I said, this feels ready, and I'm glad that they realized that it felt ready and they launched it. It is interesting to see the weird dichotomy that is a game that is so much too fun to play and also has such a horrendous progression system, like absolute madness, that everything the XP gains are tied to challenges, especially if you're one that does the battle pass, especially if you engage with the battle pass, which I haven't, but you can still earn XP for like the free tiers and all that. And I mentioned how this took the inspiration of Marvel's Avengers, because Avengers does the exact same kind of battle pass, because it's like eternal, it never expires. The only way you progress through that is doing in-game challenges. Feels way different when you're trying to do that in a shooter that also has a very limited how can I say it, playlists compared to other Halos. It's insane that the playlists are so condensed in Halo Infinite. Like, you can't pick just to play Team Slayer or my favorite SWAT.
I
like
noticed that.
Yeah, and
it's just like quick play and then big
and
team
ranked
battle.
and big team battle and ranked.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
obviously what that helps in keeping the pool unified, because one thing I'll say is that I'm glad this was a multiplayer shooter that just worked from day one, which some competition that came out the same week couldn't quite say the same. But then at the same time, I feel there's so much that they need to improve. But the good thing is that all of these things are just to the side. A battle pass can easily be tweaked. A XP gains eventually can be tweaked, but the fundamental core of the game is so solid that in a way it just makes me even more excited for the single player campaign that's coming in literally 2 weeks. Because if the combat is so much fun,
closer than I think about too, and that makes me so excited.
Just imagine. And that's the thing, like, Microsoft took a good gamble of walking back their statement of having to release both things at the same time. Who cares? Because they had so much good buzz with the multiplayer, and then releasing very positive preview coverage of people that played the first 4 missions, like almost at the same time. So they just have like a train of positivity going right now that makes me just so excited to engage with that campaign, especially hearing how great the combat feels like in its more open world setting, without it feeling like an overwhelming open world like we usually get these days, especially from Ubisoft. So and I'm so pumped for that. But enough of the Halo talk. You also played something that I bought before you did, because I was like, yeah, the Black Friday sales here. Demon's Souls.
Yes. I took the plunge on that, and
$39.59.
To the last thing that you said, of course, my luck, as I would have it, I had ranked everything that I wanted for Christmas on a list, and that was the one thing my wife bought me. So I have to go return the disc version of it that she bought me. And I feel bad because as soon as I saw it come in, it said it was from GameStop. I went, oh, I got you now. I know what you're getting me. And then I got Demon's Souls, and I went, you know what? It's probably Demon's Souls in there that she bought me. And sure enough, I was right.
Yes.
So I shot myself in the foot with a little bit of that one.
But here's the thing. Was she buying you that for Christmas or for early? Ooh.
She was gonna get me for Christmas. Yep.
Okay.
So I'm just glad I saw it so I could guess, because if I hadn't and not said anything, it would have been real awkward.
Yeah, because you can't get a refund in digital. That's the problem. So
I'm gonna have to just do that. Felix, can you not? I'm like talking here. Thank you.
Good thing we can't hear those cats right now.
I know. My cat, he gets spooked because his brother Raspberry comes after him all the time, and when he can't find him, he starts screaming.
I freaking love that the pair of cats is called Felix Raspberry. That's like Felix such a metal.
One of them, it sounds like an alternate rock band. Felix Raspberry. Yes. Anyway,
Demon's Souls.
Felix and the Raspberries. So Demon's Souls, I booted that up. I'm trying to think what happened right at the start that I was wanting to talk about at first. So I picked Magician as my class because I know magic is like a big deal in the Dark Souls universe, and I never end up using it. I think the first time I did was a little bit in Dark Souls 3, and I still feel like I didn't really touch on it.
I'm a knight, dude. I love going like full frontal assault.
It's simple, it's effective, and it works. So I just used to put all of my stuff into strength, get the biggest sword I could, and I'd just go ham on them. But this time I was like, no, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to do the magic and see what happens. Because the last time, Dark Souls 3, I did Pyromancer. We had like the cool little glove, and you got to throw like a little fireball. It was great because it would interrupt enemies, and it would do like a good amount of damage. Basically same concept here, and I'm squishy right now. I die in only a few hits, but it hasn't been the worst. But
how about those graphics?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's so clean. It's so crisp. I
So
forgot
evocative.
they made it very stylized. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. The opening cutscene looks like an ad for a mobile game.
Like one of
It's
those
not
like,
bad,
but
but
because those more to be fair to what you're saying,
yeah.
it's insane how those stupid garbage mobile games get such elaborate, so well produced ads.
Yeah. And it was funny because I'm seeing this knight character just like go off on the little zombie characters and the dragon showing up, and I was just like, good lord, this feels like some kind of Clash of Kings, or I don't know what they want to call it. It's blank of blank, and they always want to get you with that one. But anyway, um, I got the crap kicked out of me for a hot minute. I lost a lot of souls like immediately
Mhm.
because I got too aggressive. I died to that spear and shield guy that's
Uh-huh.
at like a dead it's like a spot that just dead ends until you open the door, I guess, from the
Mhm.
other side. And then got killed by that freaking dragon on the bridge.
I'm glad that I remember from back in the PS3 that I was like, yeah, this is where the dragon comes. So you just walk, have to run back, so to
My
let the fire
problem
kill
was
everyone.
no, that part I was fine. It was the part where you turn left and you keep running
Uh-huh.
out there.
And you see the two
I
dragons.
was fine. I was good. And then like the second one, I go to run up there and
No, you don't. You don't have
such a
to go
freaking
there.
idiot. No, but you see, I got through. I timed it because I ran out. I got him to run through. I pulled back and then I ran to the other side, and there were like 4 crossbow guys that
Mhm.
stun locked me. And I'm seeing like I had died previously, and my little blue soul thing is right behind them, and they just like they close in, block me in, stun lock me, and I die at like hand's reach of my 5,800 souls that I got from killing Phalanx, whatever his name is.
Mhm.
And I was very not pleased because worked hard on that, and it's the early hours of Dark Souls games are the hardest easily for me because I either get complacent,
Mhm.
and it's like the moment to moment action isn't bad because all you're doing is fighting like a couple little dudes, but you only get like 20-30 souls from it, so you really gotta like get the ball rolling, and then once you do, you're kind of good. But until then, you haven't like been able to level up or anything like that, and that's what always messes me up so bad because I get one thing wrong and I lose all my souls.
So I
And
will
now I'm
say,
at Power
yeah, I
Guard.
will say this as a night, playing through that as a night. I was actually surprised how easy that whole section was,
Yeah, for the most
actually,
part.
and especially the boss fight, getting to the first real boss fight, not the big demon before you were sent into
Yeah,
this game's version of the Hunter's Dream from Bloodborne. Obviously, this came first, but kind of to give an analogy,
yeah.
that first boss is one you just have to be very patient because it's like this blob that pops a bunch of blobs with with spears that shoot at you,
Yeah, I
and
trivialized him because I had fire.
oh
Just-
that yeah, because they're so weak to fire, so that'll
yeah,
make it so much easier.
and I had to like use it all up, but by the time I finished all my fire and magic and whatever, I could just walk up and just keep hitting it as long as I had stamina, and he couldn't do anything about it. So right now I just got to the tower guard or whatever his name is, the big old shield boy. Um,
Ooh,
haven't
the
figured out what I'm
the big
supposed to
huge
do with it.
dude. Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
gotten there because I stopped playing right at that point because I was playing other stuff. But
Okay.
that was a good reminder of, because ironically back on PS3 that was where I stopped after that first boss, and I went to play
Really?
other stuff and didn't go back, circle back to it. But what a phenomenal remake, just visually, what Bluepoint has done. And the thing is that it mechanically feels so sound, especially I don't think I can ever go back to a Souls game that's at 30 frames. That's anathema to me now because
Yeah.
the parrying window is such now that you would be doing yourself a massive disservice going back to less response time in
Literally have double the frames
to be able to get
lock.
that. I've never been able to do stun and riposte in Souls. Because correct me if I'm wrong, not every enemy can be riposted, right?
Most, if not all.
Yeah.
But that's the tricky thing, because even like bosses, but it depends on the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bloodborne, almost any enemy,
Mm-hmm.
because that was the whole thing with the shotgun and everything,
Mm-hmm.
because you couldn't really block. Um, and I think at least for Dark Souls 3, I played that one the most. Most of the enemies could, but I couldn't figure it out.
I
So
remember hearing a lot of people saying that Dark Souls 3 did some weird crap and to the repose that messed up a lot of like long time fans. So, but I'm not a Souls guy, so I would be speaking out of turn. I just know that I've never been really good at that, so I've only been good at trying to time my block to not be hit and just try to hit, or maybe just step. So yeah, I'm interested to see how Elden Ring feels. I think it's 60 frames also, but looking at the videos of Elden Ring, it's almost night and day the quality of this Demon Souls remake to how that one looks. It's
I'm almost a little sad that I'm playing Demon Souls now so close to the Elden Ring.
Because they're gonna compare both now.
Because I'm gonna step back from Demon Souls into Elden Ring going, oh, this looks rough again. This looks like Dark Souls 3 DLC.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Because Souls games have a roughness to them, but it doesn't matter. It's part of the charm.
Right. So, but it's just the fact that I'm getting spoiled now with how clean Demon Souls is. Just everything looking so good. And even like the mechanics, it's funny because now that it's at 60 frames per second, it almost allows for longer animations for things. So you've got things that like your sword wind up takes like longer, but it like you feel this good amount of weight behind every swing that you do,
and you feel you can time it better.
Yeah, you get that timing, but then also I've messed myself up because the wind up for some things is longer now. So you're like, all right, let's R2 this, and he's like, okay, now we're in. And
not in my character, it feels like it's much quicker. I've done bunch of R2 attacks.
Yeah,
like almost perfectly timed.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just I'm slow with it because I'm an old fuddy-duddy at this point who relies on magic to make the game easier.
Yeah, I'll just say that it's Demon Souls what I get for people that get a PS5, because think about it this way: this, Returnal, and Ratchet and Clank are the only PS5 only games.
I know.
On the system, at least like from Sony itself, and two of those games, this and Returnal, are so hard. It's so funny. If you want like a very PS5 specific experience, two of those experiences are that. So, but also I feel this makes me even more excited for the original title from Bluepoint, because look what a majestic looking game this Demon Souls remake is, and because they did the same thing with kind of jumping just a little bit ahead. That I remember I told you I got a 4K TV and have been like testing some old games. I tried the Shadow of the Colossus remake they did also, and it's so funny seeing how similar looking in equal potency these two remakes are. That now it makes now that they're heading into their own original thing, that's gonna be quite a looker, and something that's not quite as impressive looking, but it's still kind of crazy that it looks so good. Skyrim, the PS5 edition, the last thing we're ever getting from Bethesda on PlayStation now.
Yeah, they're just gonna keep remaking that, put it on everything. It's gonna be the new but can it run Doom kind of a story. Like, can it run Skyrim? Huh?
Yeah. For Skyrim, I barely played. I just played enough to just kind of see how it ran and how it loaded. Because one thing I really appreciate is that I was able to bring in my PS4 save from where I last left off when I played that game.
That was
it's
actually
so seamless.
Surprising how easy it is.
It's as easy as Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
it was just like, hey, you have this installed. Do you want to just switch it over? And then you could just pick each one to switch it, and that was easy. And as soon as I loaded it in, I turned left, I turned right, I started running and went, oh, this is buttery smooth.
Yes.
This is nice.
And the art and the artwork of the world and all that is shining well at 4K. Obviously, not as beautiful looking as something like Demon's Souls that was made for 2020, but it's so funny seeing that that's the best on console we can get Skyrim to look. Obviously, over on Series X, you could do that already because they started doing the FPS boost for backwards compatibility. and all the stuff, even though there's a native Xbox Series X version of Skyrim now, it's still so funny that 10 years later, this is, especially for PlayStation, this is almost a comeuppance, because remember, the PS3 version of Skyrim was horrendous. The PS4 version was great. Now, once again, it's like, it's looking even more smooth now. So, I don't know when I'll circle back. I always keep making the joke, is this going to be finally the time that I'll finish Skyrim? Maybe because I'm in this kick to play all games, but I'll get into that later. But any other quick thoughts on Skyrim?
February, that's for sure.
Yes.
Not too much outside of the differences from the last time I played it. It's just I was playing more Skyrim, and it was fun. Continuing to play as a mage now, and having never done that before in Skyrim, is really fun and entertaining, because you can do really stupid stuff, like you light an entire floor on fire. And I'm really glad this explicitly tells you that this one spell leaves, like, you use like a flamethrower and it sticks to the ground, and it says, don't worry, any like NPCs allied to you will not be hurt by this. It has to read it out. Because it's so fun to just like, and then like every enemy just does this weird like kind of crumple to the side.
Yeah, the animation, that's the one thing that hasn't aged well.
But it's
Skyrim.
So funny.
Yes.
There's been a million Vines and TikToks about it, where they kind of stop thief, and they're like walking.
Oh my god, I love the recreation, like the real life recreations of like a Bethesda RPG. It really tells you how awkward things are and how accepting we were, because we barely used to get games like Skyrim back in the day. That's why you would forgive a lot, but because we get a bunch of those games, maybe not quite the same, but in kind of the same mold, that doesn't feel as special. But there's a reason why Skyrim was special. Now, Paul, those were the games that we both play. Like we kind of crisscross our list. What are some of the games that you played that I didn't?
I played 2 indie games that were on sale. One was Absolute Drift. It is a top-down view on like a tiny little car, very simplistic, very chill atmosphere, chill music to play. And I know you can look up just to get like a visual of it. And the whole concept is, you are just a car, and you're supposed to drift through, hit markers, hit boxes, avoid the walls, get close to the pole. And it's all like, it's almost like a platformer in a way, but because you have a world, and then you do things within that area, and then it opens up a bridge to go to the next world, and then you just continue the line, and they have challenges within that. And it was just like, this is kind of nice. The aesthetic pleases me, and it was $3 on sale, and I picked it up and was just like, I can spend $3 to play something I never would have tried otherwise. So I did that. Really enjoyed it. Anybody looking for a nice little racing drifting experience, go for it.
It's in the name.
Recommend it. The other one was the meme pick, Snaky Bus.
How's that?
Do you know anything about this game?
Let me look it up. Just keep talking while I look it up.
So imagine a 3D snake, like the old games on like the Palm Pilots and phones of yore. And you take a bus and you pick up characters in like this almost Unreal Engine 4, like super hyper realistic style look to it. But then you can like boost your bus up into the air, and the whole idea is to not get stuck so that you can't move anymore. And within that, you're supposed to pick up little designated areas of passengers, bring them to an area, and then you get more links onto your bus or train or whatever it is. And they got a bunch of different, like a school bus, the British double-decker bus, regular bus, like a rainbow bus. It's weird, it's silly, but it's hilarious. And by the end, you're running through this like crazy, constantly interweaving body that you're trying to avoid now. And I didn't really even get too far into it because it was like $7-8 and I wanted to play some of the other things. But it was just like, this is so stupid and ridiculous. I don't know why it works, but it brings a smile to my face in that silliness. but yeah, that was my meme pick, and then I played 2 other games that I
Not quite meme pick. Well, one of those you could say could be a little bit of a meme pick, but not
it's
this
meme
other
potential.
one. Yes.
So the other one was Doom Eternal. I
Finally.
finally picked that up for $15. I started that up, and I don't know why, but I forgot how good the music is. And I watched the intro, and it kind of the little tutorial mission or whatever, and it finishes up. Doom guy looks over at you, pumps a shotgun. It's like, I'm just, yes.
Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal should get the reward for best starts to any game. It just gets you in. It pumps you up, doesn't waste your time. Here you go.
It's so fun, and it's hilarious because I remember delving like very minor into the Doom lore and the silliness that goes on in the background of it, the lore of like his pet rabbit, his PC gaming setup on his ship.
Oh, have you explored his base?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh my!
I found his little special room. He's got like his battle axe guitar, his crazy PC. He's like a painting of him holding his rabbit and a shotgun. It's so stupid and it's so funny because like anybody that jumps into it is like, oh, this is hyper serious. This is a church, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, it doesn't take itself seriously at all. But like everyone in it is taking themselves seriously.
That's what makes it funny. That's what makes it so hilarious.
And I think I didn't understand when I got into Doom 2016. I didn't understand what the gameplay loop was supposed to be and how Doom is supposed to be played.
Yeah, and you were trying to play it as normal shooter. Again, kind of was what I was telling you. The arena shooters are not meant to do ADS. They're just not, because you have to be in constant movement, constantly spraying, and things like that. So
it's funny that we talked about the idea of at what point should a game and developers tell you how to play their game if it's that different. Doom Eternal had a point where it said, please read this if you've never played a Doom game before, and we will give you a tip on how you're supposed to play the gameplay loop. Like they said that, like, read this, please figure out how to play this game before you start actually getting into it. Because when I started and I knew how I was supposed to play it, of waste all of your ammo, chainsaw to get ammo, glory kills to get health, rinse and repeat. I was just crushing everything.
And you know what? That's
so much more fun.
That's a different loop from Doom 2016 because the chainsaw was limited in that game. In this one, it recharges. And
which I didn't realize at first, and I was like, why do I always have a little bit of gas left? And I'm really glad I do, because it needs so much ammo to take some of these enemies out.
And you get so much less ammo, like way less ammo in Eternal than you do in 2016. And
like,
also,
you have to upgrade a lot.
And also, it's good that it decided to give that kind of onboarding if you've never played a Doom game, because unlike Doom 2016, that you can kind of brute force yourself through that game in whatever way you want.
And that's what I was doing.
Yeah. Eternal is not. Like, there's some specific enemies that it tells you, if you see this game, you have to destroy the cannons from them.
Yeah, I really appreciated that, because I wouldn't have thought about any of that stuff, like body damage. Even though I think I did it in 2016, I was just like, I don't remember anything about this. So
it wasn't there. Like, it wasn't
make
in
sure you like
shoot
the frag grenade into his mouth to instantly stagger him, or blow off the cannon for this thing to go into its melee form. And I was just like, thank you for telling me, because now I can enjoy the game instead of having to waste time getting frustrated about dying in 3 hits.
What difficulty are you playing it on?
Just like the normal one. I think it calls it something really awesome, but it's just like the normal. It's
I would recommend you drop that game to easy. You'll see.
When I start to die, I'll definitely switch it over, because so far I've only died once because of my own stupidity.
I'll say this: when the Marauders come in halfway through, you'll remember me.
I'm gonna have to figure that out for sure. And I have it in the back of my mind. If I really want to just like get through the game, I may have to switch it to that, just to have fun with the experience. Because I'm gonna have Demon Souls to be punishing right now,
You don't
and
need another one.
I don't need another one. That's for sure. I want to have some fun in between crushing my soul with Demon Souls.
Yeah, but now speaking
Um,
of something less punishing but equally heartbreaking, one of the top 10 worst reviewed games of Steam in history. Tell me about Battlefield 2042.
2042. There's a lot to unpack with this. It's a game that obviously I enjoyed a lot leading up to it, and there's the silliness and the beta.
You pre-ordered the expensive version.
No.
Oh, you
I
didn't do
pre-ordered
the
the
expensive?
standard.
Okay.
Thank God. I did that for 5 and 4 and
Battlefront.
yeah, Battlefront. Oh yeah, that's the one I did because I wanted to play 3 days early. Anyway, that game is so busted and so messed up and messy, and like you load in and sometimes your loadouts just won't show up, so you can't pick weapons, you can't be revived, and then you can't redeploy, so you literally just have to leave the game. And those are probably the most frustrating things. I will say they fixed the texture problem with the strobe light effect.
Good.
Yeah, thank God, because that would have been unplayable otherwise. It feels like it takes an eternity to unlock literally anything, because usually in like previous games you could unlock the attachments pretty quick and get a feel for playing the game a little differently. And I've been playing for like several days, and I feel like I haven't unlocked more than 1 or 2 optics for the first gun that I'm playing. And I'm just like, why am I doing something wrong? And I realized one thing is that they nerf your progression in the portal, which is where everyone's actually playing the game. And you can't actually unlock any attachments while you're playing through it, because you have to get a certain amount of kills to unlock it with that gun. And even if the gun is in there, it will not give you progression for the main game.
Is there small scale? Is there like a small scale team deathmatch in the main mode with that's not portal? Nope. Or screw them?
It is only 2 modes. It is Conquest and it is Breakthrough.
Wow.
Those are your only options.
Wow.
Both of which are massive with vehicles. Yeah, I if I wanted to, I would have to go into the portal to play like a team deathmatch. And it sounds like you can do it for account upgrades, so like you can unlock weapons through
Can you do that in the portal? Do you do it using the main mode?
Yeah, so you can unlock things as long as it's in like the Battlefield 2042 era that you're playing in. You'll get your account will level up, but you can't unlock attachments for the guns. That's the problem. So like it's nice that you get to be like, oh, okay, I can play these things and unlock all the other guns, and there's a lot of really good things. So I was talking with some of my friends. The things you can unlock later on in the late game completely will fundamentally change how people are going to play this game in like several weeks, because you have things like a laser designator, which automatically locks on all dumbfire missiles and weapon ordnance like grenades and explosives on a certain vehicle. So you do that, all of your teammates can immediately lock onto it with random recoilless rifles and whatever it is, which is crazy. And then you have your a sniper that does more damage to the vehicles than the rocket launcher does. So it takes 4 shots with a sniper rifle, but it takes 4 shots with a rocket launcher, and you get like 30 bullets with this sniper rifle as opposed to the 3 shots in the missile that you get. And it's very difficult to hit things with that. And the helicopters are just dominating everything. You have to like specifically use the gadget that has an anti-air missile launcher to do anything against them, and they can use chaff so they can avoid it. It's so messy, and the only reason I have fun with it is because
of your friend group.
my friend group that plays it every couple of days, and even them are like, oh my gosh, guys, we might have to like put this in the oven and let it sit. And they're the ones that are like blindly like, no, I'm gonna keep playing this and stuff. They're just like, I can't believe this is going on. Like I got into a hovercraft, which is like sweeping people, and we cleared out like 20 people just with this hovercraft because nobody could hit us. And we were shooting at another hovercraft only to realize after about 5 minutes that neither of us could damage each other. Like they were literally just, you can't hurt each other with the guns.
How did this ship? How? Once again, I cannot believe 3 years later, once again, Battlefield is the biggest disappointment of the holiday. It wasn't in Battlefield 5. It's now this. And on top of that, you got Halo Infinite coming in here in its high horse to just completely obliterate them.
Very clean. And that's the other thing. The servers struggle so much with 128 people. That's the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, so many things. I can't play with my friend on PS4.
Oh yeah, and I don't think that's possible
because there's no way for me to manually say, no, I don't want the 128 people. I want to play on the smaller sizes. So like they're literally splitting the PS4 and the PS5 group, and I can play with PC, but apparently like there's no option for me to switch that. So one of the guys in our friend group actually can't play with us.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm reading here, there's a GameSpot article. Crossplay can only work with the PC and the current gen. So Xbox Series X and PS5. If you're on PS4 and Xbox One, you can crossplay between the older versions, but not the newer ones. So one of your friends got SOL.
He is, and it sucks. I feel so bad for him because he literally can't find a PS5 anywhere unless he pays like almost $800 to scalpers, and he's not willing to do that. And there's so many people that aren't going to be able to afford something like that, even if they wanted to. So why would they do something like this? Oh, we talked about it right when they announced it. It was like, oh, well, they're obviously going to have to include an option to do the smaller version so that they could have PS4, PS5, and all that play with each other. But no. It's just so crazy. Like, you literally have two options. That's it. Or like the Hazard thing, which is like not even a thing. It's like basically Escape from Tarkov, but like dumbed down. And so,
or the Division survival mode.
Yeah, more or less. But then nobody's like really messing with it. I haven't even touched it yet because it's like either you play Portal, and Portal's fun and it's great until you get to that point where like you get downed and somebody tries to revive you, and it's like, oh, you've been revived, but then you're still down, so you can't do anything.
Here was EA all year. The goodwill. And with this game, literally, I kept saying it. It feels like they were headed towards that fire after we played that beta. I begged them, please delay this thing. Now it's... I have no words. Like, I have no words that I cannot believe that they know how botched Battlefield has been over this past generation, where only one of them was well received. Battlefield 1. And that was well received because the Call of Duty that year had more unnecessary hate than it probably needed. Infinite Warfare.
I would argue that Battlefield 1 still was like really solid.
Exactly.
If you look back at that game now, it still looks super polished. So good. That engine, it just, the way the water comes off the guns and everything. And
no, but that's the thing. Like, some could make the argument that it got even more positive feedback because of its competitor Infinite Warfare not being super hot that year, despite it being the best-selling game of that year anyway. But Battlefield 5, complete dumpster fire when it launched, such incomplete. Not to mention the Battlefront 2 fiasco from the previous year that affected Battlefield 5 by inertia because they needed to fix that game, and then they still had to. They were like, oh yeah, we gotta fix the dumpster fire here. Oh wait, we have to release another game this year. Yeah. Let's just ship whatever you have and say that, yeah, we're building it. It's a live service. But this is code for, no, we're just releasing a full price early access game. And the worst part this year, they had the gal saying, we are no longer doing a single player campaign because we're going to put all the extra resources to really get this multiplayer right. What resources from what I'm hearing?
And
That's
one other thing that you'll find this funny is there are 10 maps, but because of some kind of strange error in the matchmaking, there is 3 that keep replaying themselves. We have had friends play through a whole game of Conquest, and it finishes on that map, and then restarts the next one in the same lobby, same server, and it picks the same map again.
$70. 70 effing dollars.
And
Man.
like, there's moments in there that are really fun, and if you like love Battlefield, and if you love that just absolute bat crap, insane nonsense glitchiness, like there's a lot of that in there, and some people really love it, and I respect it. Sometimes I love it too, but like I need to be able to finish a match.
Do they though?
and have,
Because now
like,
it's the worst,
progression.
one of the worst reviews games on Steam of all time now. I don't think they do.
Part of me feels like some of that's review bombing, but I mean that's
but
the way.
enough to put you in like the lower trash tier that releases on Steam. Think about that.
I mean, this is the same company that got the lowest downvoted comments of all time
In Reddit, yeah.
in Reddit.
with
And,
Battlefront 2.
It's amazing because like people will flock to that. They're big enough that people are going to find the time and the resources to be like, how can I downvote this? And I mean, PC in itself, I don't think it's been performing the best on that either. So they're just
No version's good. That's the thing.
No,
Not even the PC
none of it.
version.
so that it's easy because you can do that, but of course there's not like a review thing for something like PlayStation or Xbox right now.
Mhm.
What was it? One other thing that I was going to say about that before we moved on, but I don't think I can think of it off the top of my head. Needless to say, they said they were going to be dropping hot fixes, and they listed a rare problem where you couldn't see your loadout and things like that. But what they call rare literally happened. We went through a string of loading into a map. One of the 4 of us had the problem. Loaded into another map, 2 of us had the problem. Loaded into another map, 1 of us had the problem. There was literally not a point where all 4 of us could actually play, and we just called it a night after that.
You have so thoroughly unsold me from this garbage that
Don't buy this for right now.
Yes.
Wait for 6 months to a year. Eventually, they're going to stabilize this nonsense, and it's going to become just like all the other Battlefields at this point, where it's like it's glitchy and it's messy, but it's fun. But right now, it's almost not even fun enough to bother.
But that's the funny thing. Is like Battlefield used to not be that. It was.
Yeah.
This has just been a problem from Battlefield 4 onward. When you have Battlefield 1, which is the only one that didn't launch that busted, like at all.
It was unbalanced, but not busted.
Exactly. It was unbalanced in some ways, but that's not a technical problem.
Yes.
These other ones do have the technical problem. At a certain point, I think I just have to accept that Battlefield's never gonna be great ever again. If they keep launching these games like this, and that sucks. Like, once again, like on the year where Call of Duty was weaker than it's ever been in so many areas. This is how you come out. It's like Battlefield is just gonna be a relic at this point. That's always gonna have its diehard fan bases, but as a respected series, just hearing that, especially when they had the gal of like cutting some stuff because they said they were gonna put it to make the one thing that they're going to do better, and now everyone universally says it's probably the worst it's ever been. Fundamentally, that's no bueno. Paul, what are some final things that you played? We can move on.
I'll clear up these last couple things. I went and played Overcooked 2 with my wife.
I was gonna say you wanted to play something with her, right?
I loved. I enjoyed the game myself, but it's really a game that you really enjoy together with a group of people. And I try to find little games that people that don't play games could, and she's one of those that I'm always looking for little co-op games, and especially with It Takes Two being nominated for Game of the Year, I'm really hoping this continues the string of, hey, let's see who else wants to buy or who wants to make a game made for 2 or more people all sitting next to each other. And that was just, honestly, it's really punishing. It's
Mhm.
really difficult. You really need like problem solving skills and communication to like, all right, you be over there, wash the dishes, you work on cutting the meat, I'm gonna work on cooking this part that you throw to me, and then like there's literally all sorts of crap happening around you, and it is so difficult, but it's honestly helped our relationship
Yes.
because we get to yell at each other without getting actually
Yeah,
mad. It's
I've
like,
always heard that. That's
drop
like
the chicken, you loser! Oh my
the
god!
tomatoes.
Yeah, the tomatoes, you threw it into the fire. What is wrong with you? Everything's dying. It's so funny, but in all honesty, if you want to get closer with any friend or significant other, please play a game like Overcooked or Kiwi or It Takes Two,
Yeah.
or if you're really feeling crazy, A Way Out. They're so much fun,
A
especially
Way
with
Out is $5 right now. FYI.
Is it? I don't know if I see. That's why I said if you're really feeling crazy, because A Way Out handles a lot of different subject material and plays a little more complexly
Mhm.
than I think Elizabeth could handle right now. But if you and a friend can both play games normally, then I think you'll love it, because I heard that game's really great. And then of course, the last one I played is For Honor, because I love martial arts, I love medieval stuff, I love the weaponry, and it's just so fun to be silly and do wild nonsense in that game, because even their biggest mode is only like 4v4, so you just need 8 people playing the game and you're good, so it benefits a lot from a lower game pool of player pool. And it's just fun because they keep trying to balance it and they're really supportive. There's always new characters coming out, new cosmetics and all that nonsense, and it's fun. It was free 1 month and it's probably heavily discounted everywhere.
All the time. For Honor is one of those always discounted games because they make their money with the season passes.
Yes.
Year 5.
I know, and they're crushing it. I mean, like Siege feels like it's gotten stale, but I feel like For Honor is just crushing.
Yeah,
it right
I was gonna say that because Siege is still going. That's what's funny, but I haven't heard as much from Siege. Like a new I feel the last time that I heard about Siege was when Sam Fisher joined, and I think more stuff happened since then.
There's still every like few months there's a new thing going on, new event, and then I think 4 times a year they're dropping one new character, one on defense, one on attack, one on defense, one on attack. But it's like they got to do so much mental backflipping to make it work, and so few new characters are coming out with actual new weapons that it feels to a lot of characters that they're just trying to fix problems that their game has created in the balance section rather than actually creating somebody new. And then they're also just like recycling weapons to give them, and then they just keep creating more problems, which is one of the problems with like a shooter. But then with something like For Honor, you don't have to do as many balance fixes because it's not as complex of a game. It's really just a fighting game with a couple extra bells and whistles. So needless to say,
just
have fun. Good. Yeah, you got to get good. Alejandro, what have you been playing? This is your marathon time.
Yes. So I mentioned the new games that I played had been Demon's Souls and Halo Infinite. We're talking about that. Far Cry 6, also one of those new games that I got in this sale. It was a 39 something, or was it 40 something? It was $40.
It was about 40, yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I feel this is the right time to buy this one, and I haven't played a Far Cry since Far Cry 5. I did get New Dawn, but I only played like an hour of it, and I was like, eventually I'm gonna be in the mood for this. You kind of have to be in the mood for this kind of game. So I started playing it, and so far with Far Cry 6, it's once again, it tackles a very serious subject matter. And at first it makes it seem like they're actually gonna nail it. The way they begin this with Giancarlo Esposito's character, him doing like this propaganda speech, like very elaborate speech in like TVs, and you're looking at the country being so disheveled and in such strife. That was like me, that I live close to a country that's going through that in Nicaragua, or at least an idea of that. I was like, I think they kind of nailed this. I feel they're nailing the vibe. There's a seriousness to this that I can kind of vibe with this. Then immediately after, you get a mission called Juan of a Kind. That it's you're looking for this character named Juan, which is Spanish for John, but obviously using the pun, the one of a kind, Juan of a kind. You meet this Juan character that has a pet named Guapo. It's a freaking alligator that then just completely tears someone's head, and then then you can start controlling that alligator as like a Pokemon thing. Like, go there, and then he just like bites and destroyed someone's testicles. And I was like, yeah, here it is. Here's a Far Cry that I know, the one where it tries to be so serious over here, and it tries to be so over the top, batshit insane over here. And how do you mesh those two things? I will say it's if you've ever had fun with a Far Cry game, this seems solid. So far, this seems solid, and I feel it feels more solid than usual because it's on next gen. So already at base, it's running at 60 frames. So the shooting itself already feels so much better. And I will say this: New Dawn is the one that introduced health on enemies. The health on enemies works so much better here in 6.
Really?
Yes, because it allows you to strategize a little bit more if you just want to spray bullets. You can still get enemies with one hit headshots. I think you couldn't in New Dawn, I could be wrong, but there was just something that just didn't feel right with that one. But in this one, I was like, okay, I'm not hating this. I kind of like the idea of maybe you have a group of enemies, one has lower health. If I don't want to take the time to aim and try to get that headshot and just want to spray it, I know where to start shooting in specific ways. And there's something so funny of having Guapo, your alligator, just like psyching them to your enemies. Because you watch Loki, right?
Yeah.
There's like episode 5 Loki.
Yep.
He has like, for some reason, it feels like they watched Loki and copied the exact same expressions and animations for this alligator. Because it's so, every time I look at that alligator, I laugh. I don't know what it is about alligators that I just laugh outside their terrifying context. Especially because this alligator has a shirt on. So, and you can pet him. It's so fun. It's so fun. And I know there's like crazier animals that you can get with this.
Yeah.
So I will say I still frankly say, because it always tries to tackle serious subject matter and trying to balance it with the wacky, I feel that's always a failure in the Far Cry series. I don't know if I can even recommend this as like a good.
Would you say it's the execution of it, or just the very idea of trying to blend serious and silly?
Yeah, especially how they do it, because the funny stuff of this game is parody almost.
Yeah.
I mean, just the existence of that alligator itself, that to me is emblematic. Because as soon as he started, I just started laughing my ass off. I was like, I cannot believe. And then when he tears someone's foot off, and then when you psych them into enemies, and he really goes for the testicles. And I feel you feed him testicles. It looks like that when you're feeding him. So it's like, it's crass. So it's like this crass humor versus the serious matter of like a dictatorship in a Latin American country, which is like something that happens in real life in many different Latin American countries. You keep going south. So that I think that's, unless Far Cry is like seriously reconsidered, I think that's just gonna be a failure of them. I mean, look at Far Cry 5. It was like try to tackle the religious extremism that mixes Christianity with like white supremacy and weapon ownership and all that, and it barely had anything to say it, and then it was just wacky territory. This is just like that. If you're in the mood for Far Cry though, at this price, maybe it goes cheaper further down the line. If you're in the mood for that, I feel it's a fun one. Just know that it's just never gonna be the bastion of prestige that it attempts to, because that's the thing. When they promoted this with Giancarlo and all of that, and calling it a Ubisoft original, it seemed like they were trying to aspire for that high art. And when you hire Giancarlo, here's the thing: Giancarlo can make your crap feel like high art because he's just so good. So
he brings the fire no matter what he's in. And it's really funny because, not to make a sideline, but I found out in the Disney show Once Upon a Time,
he's in there,
which he is in that, and he's playing this plucky journalist. And it's so funny because he's like fumbling around, Clark Kenting his way through it, and he's like, "Oh yes, Miss Queen, of course." And it's so funny because it's before he realized he could do that gravitas roll, but he's still really good. It's just really funny because that's like I am a god amongst men kind of style of acting that he really got popular with Breaking
because that's the thing, like when he appeared in Once Upon a Time, he appeared after Breaking Bad, so in a way that retroactively makes him even more cooler, because Breaking Bad started in 2008. Once Upon a Time was
Once Upon a Time start then
around that time, if not later, and I think he didn't come out early.
2011. Holy smokes, you're right.
Yeah, so he started with gravitas and was able to also be plucky go lucky.
Oh shoot!
And that
That's
one.
amazing. Yeah, so he went from the huge role of
Gus Fring,
I will cut your neck open with a box cutter to would you like some like what is the may I take your hat, sir, from SpongeBob. But yeah, that's, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. So anyway, yeah, back on subject.
Yeah, I already like the main villain better than Joseph Seed from Far Cry 5, so at least he has that going for it. Now my big question is, how big is this game? Right now I'm in the starting island. It's big, meaty enough, but I've heard this game is ginormous. I was like, oh no. This island seems manageable enough. Does it really get that much huger? That's more huge? I don't know, but
it is. I've seen the map on like very briefly on a YouTube video, and it's much bigger than the starting island. So
yeah,
it's probably going to get to that point like you've had in the past where it's just going to be too much. Which I hear that is going to be another problem. But
yeah, and I'll say the seeds of the live service element, I'm already seeing it here.
Really?
We talked about the live service, that Far Cry is the next series that Ubisoft is prostituting into a live service. How you accept quests is straight out of Destiny. You run into a character, you hold square, the circle loads, you go into a menu where you see the character, you see a wall of text, and you see accept quest. So I was like, yeah, here it is. They started planning all this.
They're planting the seeds.
Yeah, the seeds have been planted. We know what Far Cry 7, whatever they end up calling, it's gonna feel like. So
oh no.
Enjoy Far Cry 6 as much as you can, because at least it's offline. It's an offline game that you can enjoy if you've ever enjoyed Far Cry. So far, I'm enjoying it, but I've also been playing a butt ton of stuff.
Yeah, why don't you like give me a rundown of all of this crap that you have here, because it's a lot.
I know. I don't have to like spend too much time on that, other than the very final one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You have 10 games.
10 games, yeah. So
10 games.
So Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, a game that I've been talking for like the last few weeks, I finally beat it.
Yes.
And unlike Metroid Prime 2 that I was like texting all of you guys like at 1 a.m. over my frustrations, I almost like low-key beat this game because I was barely texting you all, because it wasn't that hard at all. I will say this, I don't think that's a good thing, because I didn't find it as memorable. So I'm now at that point where I'm like, did I like 2 or 3 better? Obviously 3 plays better on Wii, but I'm like, I felt a sense of accomplishment despite wanted to tear my hair out with 2, and in this one I didn't feel that way, and it felt
playing into their hands, Alejandro.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, if I would say if there's the best Metroid game was the first one, and that one was like memorable. I still like, it has the best music, it has the best biomes, it has the best feel of a Metroid game. 2 was just unbalanced. 3 is too much of a shooter, so I think that hurts it a little bit. And the boss fight was like super easy compared. The final boss fight was super easy compared to the ones from the first 2 games. So it was still a great game. I'm glad that with this, the Metroid series was having in my psyche for the last month is over, because I went through every mainline Metroid game that's not called Metroid 2. All of them. Zero Mission, Fusion, Dread, all 3 Metroid Primes. I'm done. I can clean my hands from this series. Great series. Sad that there's not a modern way to really experience everything without having to go down the rabbit hole of emulators and maybe searching for copies in Facebook Marketplace like I did with Metroid Prime 2 by sheer happenstance and luck. So Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2. I was like, we talked about in our chat, we were talking about how the Rogue Squadron movie by Patty Jenkins was like shelved or delayed indefinitely, and you mentioned something like, man, reading this, it just makes me wish I could play a Rogue Squadron game. And I literally just looked to my side. I was like, I have Rogue Squadron. So I ironically was able to acquire a Wavebird. I told you about the wireless GameCube controller. I found one in the I found that one in the also in the Facebook Marketplace, and yeah, I just blasted through Rogue Squadron 2 in 3 hours. I could not believe that game was that short.
Really?
Yes, I was like, wow, you really can blast through this thing, huh? And great game. So good. That's a game from the GameCube launch.
Yeah.
And it's still to me my favorite Star Wars game, like one of my favorite ones. I always toss back and forth between Jedi Fallen Order and this one. I never played KOTOR, so don't come at me. I need to play that when it comes out in remake form.
I don't even know if you should, because it's aged so poorly.
Exactly. So I don't know if I could play it now, especially I know the twist. I basically know the twist already. I watched videos of it. So.
And that was one of the biggest things about it.
Yeah, and maybe in remake form, it might get into that conversation. Hey, kitty. And so yeah, and then because I was like, oh, I beat this so quick, I'm gonna play Rogue Squadron 3 then. I would say Rogue Squadron 3 is not as good. It doesn't feel as polished, and luck had it for me. That game crashed on me. So I was like, what? So and my disc started like, I was like, oh no. Okay. I was like, enough of that. Move to the next. I looked at my pile of games from GameCube that I was like, what are some games that I never beat that's there, that I'm kind of like in the mood because I'm in this Nintendo mode? And I saw Star Fox Adventures, the last game that Rare made for Nintendo before they got acquired by Microsoft.
Isn't that like the heavily cartoonized like redesigns and stuff?
No, this is the Star Fox game that was basically a Legend of Zelda game. Look it up, Star Fox Adventures. This is the game that introduced Crystal, the blue-looking fox-like character.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. This is what I'm thinking of. It just, at least to me, looked very heavily redesigned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's not cartoony. That's the thing. I wouldn't call it cartoon, but kind of like more furry-like.
Very heavily furry eyes. That's for sure. My goodness. Game. I don't think I've ever seen gameplay of this.
Yeah, you should like look at it. It's like
I'm looking at a screenshot and wow.
It's straight up Zelda. It literally is straight up Zelda. You like pick up something, you see the character try to pick something and then lift it up, and then you get the text and all of that. So this was one of the first GameCube, during that first year of GameCube after it launched. That was the year that Metroid Prime came out, Zelda Wind Waker came out, this game came out. Nintendo was trying to put some stuff to try to make the GameCube, that recently turned 20, by the way. Happy birthday, GameCube. To try and make it worth it. And Star Fox Adventures is interesting because I know this is a game that's both beloved and hated, because obviously a lot of the GameCube library is one that over years has been more beloved as like one of the more eclectic collection of exclusives Nintendo ever had, especially for more for more hardcore audiences. The thing with Star Fox Adventures is that it's not Star Fox. Star Fox is a space arcade game. And there's sections you play with your ship that's straight up Star Fox, but the majority of the game is basically Zelda. So if you can like turn your head off of the fact that you're playing like a Zelda game with the Star Fox skin made by Rare, I mean, it's pretty solid. I haven't beaten it though. I kind of got bored of it eventually. I was like, I don't know if I want to play this kind of game, because again, it's like Metroid is so, especially Metroid Prime, very Zelda-like. Also, it's so funny how Zelda and old school Zelda and Metroid are so similar in some ways with the difference of the aesthetics. So I was like, yeah, I think I finally hit that. I've eaten enough of this food right now, so I'm moving on. I will eventually beat, because that's a game that's been, those chain backlogs. There's like, that's a game that I own and never went. Like Metroid Prime was that for me, and finally I cleared that out for me. So
the problem that I have with a lot of those is
they don't age well.
one, they don't age well. two, you age as a person away from what that might have interested you at one point. So like that's why I realized that there's certain games that I adored that I know I can never go back and play because all it's going to do is disappoint me.
Yeah, but the thing is that I'm not disappointed with Star Fox myself because I like that kind of game. I've just played it. Yeah,
I would get bored with it.
yes,
like
and
you said.
yeah, I played that kind of game. But again, if you played so many in a row that it's so similar, it's like eventually you're gonna reach a, yeah, I don't want to play this right now. So maybe eventually I'll get the mood back in. So I left the Nintendo behind, went back to PS5. Returnal. I only played that once when I got it on sale, and I went back to it because they added the save thing. They patched in that you can finally save your runs. So how this works is that you can save a run, but you have to quit out of your of the game. So it says like save run. It's like save run or something, and then it tells you, okay, the run has been saved. You're gonna continue from here. Shut off your console. If you don't do that, you will restart from the beginning. That game was always, the conversation around that game was about how punishing that game was because there was no way to save. There was a way to try to save scum, sort of, by putting your console in rest mode if you wanted to stop somewhere in your run, because the runs on that game are pretty long.
Yeah.
But then you were risking, if you had like a blackout happen and your console resets, then you were SOL. So at the very least, they added that. It's like still not the most accessible game, but what a phenomenally fun shooter. I'm hoping eventually that game reaches like PS Plus, maybe. That is like given. Obviously right now it's very expensive. I don't think it's in the list of sales for this Black Friday. I don't know.
It's somewhat on sale, but I don't remember how much.
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth $70.
No, I didn't buy it for 70
at all. So
yeah.
That's why I hope that it's
especially for a game that's
sale.
so hard. Like for a game that's so hard that can be your kick. Like I was doing a kind of fairly lengthy run for the first biome. There's 5 biomes. And I just kept exploring. Ironically, this game has Metroid-like exploration. Also, I was like, God damn it. All of this has that.
Can't escape.
I can't escape it right now.
It was like what I experienced with you, trying to play Carrion. And in that moment, I went,
Metroidvania.
oh no, it's a Metroidvania. Yeah. I can't get out of here. I'm trapped.
Yes. Yes, but it's interesting because I didn't mind it there because it's still kind of like a fast-paced shooter. I tell you, it's so much fun. It's like the kind of game that if you like dexterity of knowing like how you can get so good at a game that controls so tight, that's Returnal. And now that I know it has that kind of save, if I have a good run, I kind of want to stop there. I'm glad that the game now fundamentally can save your run for you to quit it. And on top of that, people have already found out that you can save scum it with the PS Plus saved. So if you die, just quit out the game, load your save that you put into the cloud, and start from there. So
I mean, honestly, I'm not even going to be mad at people doing that because it's like, you know what, you got to do what you got to do.
Exactly.
At a certain point.
And I've heard that game, and that game is probably even more than Ratchet and Clank in a way, a better example of how good the SSD of the PS5 can make a game better. Because the load times are so quick. When you die, you're just back like that. You don't spend any second thinking how angry you are because you're back in the run. Think
Same
about
with
Blood.
Demon Souls.
Yes. Ironically, the PS5 is gonna make those harder games more accessible by the happenstance that you don't have to like simmer on your hatred. With the frustration. Like
I don't have to look at, just like you said with Bloodborne.
1 minute load times. With Bloodborne, I remember
get so heated sometimes because I know I would. Oh my gosh!
Glad they fixed those, but just imagine Bloodborne having Demon Souls like load times. I think that's going to be a beneficial. In fact, people saw that Elden Ring on PS5 loads just like that, even more than in Xbox Series X. That's gonna make, because if you're just back again, it's the Super Meat Boy mentality. The Super Meat Boy, very hard game. But you don't think about you missing something because you're back in.
You can start it over so quick.
Even when you die, you're back in. So it's like, and also the Tony Hawk mentality of old Tony Hawk that I messed up this combo. Reset, you're back again, and you can start the run. When you have to simmer enough frustration, I think that's what kills you. And I think now I'm appreciating that more about Returnal, about how the SSD can really fundamentally work that way, and it's tied up to the story because it's so cool how you die immediately you receive the cutscene again, like it's playing in the mind of the character that you're just witnessing this deja vu. So it's a good use of the technology, and hopefully I definitely want to play more of that because it's one of the exclusives for this past year that I haven't been. Obviously I did be a Rift Apart, and that was a great one. I feel Returnal's a better game even. So I mentioned Shadow of the Colossus. I'm testing the 4K HDR of my TV. I want to see how this game looked, and I always have a reference save in Shadow of the Colossus of the 5th Colossus that it's a flying one in a river. I tweaked HDR, and I looked at the sky as I was looking at the Baird, and my eyes watered up, and how amazingly, strikingly beautiful that was. That was Weta Workshop level of beauty. When you probably have Shadow of the Colossus in PS Plus. It was one of PS Plus games.
Yeah, I have it.
Right, go back to that game. See if you can get it up until like the. It's so good. It's such a great game. In fact, has Elizabeth ever seen it?
Probably not.
That would be a great game to show her.
I'll think about that one.
Yes, I'll say it's such a, especially you have a 4K HDR TV.
Yeah.
Don't put in 120 frames mode.
Okay.
Exit up because I know your TV was like not letting you do HDR by doing 120 hertz. So
right.
So yeah, definitely definitely try that with 4K HDR, and you'll be mightily, again, with Shadow of the Colossus and Demon's Souls, such a great showcase of the tech mastery of Bluepoint. And this was just with remakes, how great their new games are gonna be. Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, two other games that I was wanting to test to see how they looked on PS5. Rise of the Tomb Raider has not been PS5 enhanced. However, it was PS4 Pro enhanced back in 2016. So this game had, I just wanted to see if there was a difference between its 4K mode, its enhanced mode, and the frame rate mode. And the 4K mode looks kind of nice. Not true 4K, like now that I know what true 4K is. But that game has a nice art style. So I was like, yeah, this is interesting. But Shadow of the Tomb Raider got a PS5 patch that runs the game at 4K 60. And I was flabbergasted. I was like, wow.
Really?
Because I'll say this, Shadow of the Tomb Raider was almost one of the more disappointing games I played in 2018 because I love Rise of the Tomb Raider so much. And Shadow of the Tomb Raider at launch was just not that polished. There had so many problems. It just didn't feel as tight. But it feels like in the last 3 years, they just kept adding to that game. When I reloaded it, I was like, what's all this? Oh my god, they added all these time trials. They added
Really?
Yes. So they obviously was the last Tomb Raider they released. So obviously by happenstance of being closer to where we are now, they probably kept building on it. So, and now playing like visually, it's like, man, this looks so much better than what I remembered. They actually probably listened to the feedback that there was some visual effery happening over here that wasn't that hot. It made the game just look more low budget than it needed to look compared to Rise of the Tomb Raider that was so exquisitely made. And especially with these scenarios, there's something about lush greens, the tombs, that looks so great in HDR that just made it so appealing. I was like, I think I might try to replay this. Rise of the Tomb Raider, I just did quick. I was like, okay, this looks nice. At least playing it on 60 frames is going to make the combat more fun. But Shadow of the Tomb Raider on PS5, if you have a next-gen console, you haven't played Shadow of the Tomb Raider, you're interested, I would say check it out. Marvel's Avengers, went back to it because I reinstalled it in preparation for Spider-Man. Obviously, we saw the Spider-Man preview that IGN put. Not looking so hot in that video.
What Zach posted was probably the best summary of it, where it said, yo, look at this new GTA mod with Spider-Man doing his web swings.
Oh my god.
That's it, yeah.
Yes. But I will say, I keep saying it. By the way, do you get the game? I'll tell you that it was $16. We chat about it in our stream.
I did.
Yes, awesome.
I downloaded it. I downloaded the PS4 version because I just do not have enough space on my hard drive right now.
Yeah.
But yes, I have it.
It gave
now.
you both versions, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I can just interchange as I want.
And I think there's crossplay there, so maybe you can. see if there's like a visual. I would say that I haven't seen the PS4 enhanced version of that game. I've only seen the PS5, and I do think the PS5 native version of Avengers is nice looking compared to how it was on base PS4. That was rough, very rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of reinstall it, and I also wanted to test the 4K HDR, test it out. I was like, yeah, it's still, I feel that's a pretty game in spots, and I would still say that it's a game that on videos for some reason doesn't seem as fun as when you're playing. When you're playing, it's a different story. So I'm still excited to try out Spider-Man, but the IGN preview, it's so funny. This conclusion says this feels like a contract obligation done by gritted teeth instead of like a genuine. The
guy sounded like I couldn't trust a word coming out of his mouth. I was like, boy, this is so scripted. Like, who gave you this?
Yeah, he
who's holding a gun to your head?
But that's the thing. He was honest. He was like, yeah, this is what I feared. Obviously, I haven't, but I'm gonna play that in November 30th when this drops. I already have it installed because I fundamentally enjoy that game. I always said the exclusivity of Spider-Man was always gonna come with massive caveats, and that preview confirmed my fears. They were not gonna do story missions because why give the big middle finger to Xbox and PC? Why would you that? Why would you do that? And because now this confirms that this is a permanent exclusive, because they would have done, if this wasn't a permanent thing and Xbox and PC would have gotten there, they would have done the story stuff and eventually just get it, kind of like what you do in some other stuff.
Yeah.
But now we know the nature of the scum exclusivity that Sony signed up for this is such that now no one is gonna be satisfied with what Spider-Man could have potentially been. Because I'll tell you, every character that they brought in came in with a campaign, an hour and a half campaign almost, and it was decent because there was story. It was advancing the story. I would say the Hawkeye story is the cooler one, even more than Wakanda. Even though Wakanda is a great expansion, I feel the story told in the Hawkeye one with it pulling from the old man Hawkeye thing from Old Man Logan and stuff like that is actually really cool. So you don't get that with Spider-Man. Apparently you got to complete challenges to get story stuff from Spider-Man. I'm like, yeah, this is why it's just...
And it's like the Tekken style of story where it's like 2D images and that's it.
Yeah, so again, that's like, yeah, but I think the idea of like at least someone having their favorite main character being Spider-Man, and that at least they can go. Let's see how he feels, because I always say that some characters feel other than the Hulk until you finally fully upgrade him. All characters feel good in that game, and I can't wait for you to like really dive into Black Widow, because that's where you stopped in the free preview. Or
I was trying so hard to keep going because it kept saying your trial is over, your trial is over, and I kept hitting the A button to try to move. And I was enjoying her. I think out of the characters that I played the most, I think Thor might have been my favorite.
Yeah, and you
really
were so close.
Fun to throw his hammer and then fight and pull it back, just like God of War. I mean, it was
fun enough. The guy that worked on the animation for the hammer throw went to work on Avengers for that. So good pull from it. Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? You basically have the best Thor game in God of War.
Absolutely.
And I would say that because you got it for $16, I stand by the story stuff from that game. I feel you're gonna get a good 20 hours out of that for $16. I feel that's insane deal. You don't have to bother about the live service thing unless you really want to. I don't recommend it.
The way I justified it is a movie ticket nowadays
before
the pandemic was like $16 to $20. And if I can get a game for that
that's a solid game. Eventually, if you want,
that's more worth it than the one experience.
And that's the thing. Like, I would love playing that game with you just to see if maybe it clicks of us playing, because only the live service stuff is what's co-op. You can't do the campaign co-op, but that's to its benefit because there's some scripted. There's a bunch of scripted missions that I would love for you to play. There's a really cool Iron Man mission, other than the one where you're building your suit. That's pretty cool. The first time you see Tony. Remember, you're in Tony's
Is it the one where he tries to there was like an exploding base or something that he's flying out of, or is
Yeah.
that
Oh, you already played through that?
I
Then you
already
have to
played
like,
through that
yes.
one. That was good. I kept dying, unfortunately, because I would hit something, and I like took too long or something. But anyway, that was really fun. I agree.
Yeah, and the campaign's replayable now. You can replay the campaign however times you want as like a New Game Plus, and then redo it with New Game Plus if you want, and over. So you couldn't do that before. You couldn't play the best part of the
Really?
game. They had to patch that in. So
I kind of took it for granted. I was like,
Uh-huh.
obviously they're just going to have that on the map to say you can go back to this mission. Even
Mhm.
Destiny had that for
Exactly.
a while.
So
Anyway,
they
oh,
realized that's a good stuff.
I did want to mention one thing about your Tomb Raider talk for a second. I never finished Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I never touched Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I have
Ooh.
both. Your talk about it actually makes me want to go download it.
Do
and play
it.
both.
Good games. Really great games. Really
Man,
great games.
I wish you'd mentioned those
Before all of
I bought all of the.
Yes. Look,
I've got,
you'll
like-
have something. That's the thing. Like, the tsunami starts in February. You'll have something to play eventually. So,
I know.
and December's only Halo Infinite. There's nothing more for December.
But that's when I'm gonna get all of those games for Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You'll be feasting. Just think about it. You'll be feasting no matter
I'm
what.
gonna be feasting so bad.
Yeah.
I'm like that one picture of the lady with like a bunch of people holding pancakes out to her, and she's like, I don't know what to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because that's me right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And like I said, Rise of the Tomb Raider, a great example for what Crystal Dynamics' best work is. That at times shines in the campaign side of Avengers.
Yeah.
And Shadow of the Tomb Raider, a great precursor to the Guardians of the Galaxy game that they made, because that was Eidos Montreal that did Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So
Wow.
I still haven't finished Guardians, but still an excellent game. I would say I still highly recommend Guardians of the Galaxy.
And
the
I'm
final-
definitely getting that one for Christmas.
Yeah,
But
and the
anyway.
final game that I want to talk about, because I'm feeling very weird about myself.
You're gonna be eating crow today.
Red Dead Redemption 2. I have many times have been almost even made fun of you sometimes about, especially because of you engaging with the Red Dead Online side that hasn't been served well.
No.
Back in 2018, I always say that I always had this nagging suspicion that the biggest mistake I made was that I was playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey at the same time. That had a very specific pace to it and a very specific friction-free way through its open world. And having to play both of those games back to back, my frame of mind wasn't the right one for the kind of game Red Dead Redemption 2 wanted to be, and my idea of what it was. Now that I'm replaying it, I mentioned that I was replaying it during our news section, and I played a little bit more. I feel so enchanted by it. I think about that game. This is a game already beaten.
Welcome to the club.
You just want to go back to it and exist in that world. It has a
magical
grab.
quality. Every part of it. I mean, this is where my complex feelings about it come in, and I'm going to let you continue with your talk, but it's just the blend of like that we're going to slow you down so purposely with like almost frustrating levels of detail where you have to do these little things, but like almost if you embrace that side of it, it becomes a completely different kind of game. And for the single player, at least, speaking on that, is so good at just slowing you down and being like, oh damn, this is a nice
And I don't know
thing.
if it's, and I wonder how much the visual oomph that I'm experiencing now that I'm playing that game in 4K, because
that's got to be so good.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, even when I played back on PS4 back in 2010, I had the base PS4, by the way, and I had a 1080p TV. That game still looked beautiful. I remember my brother always walking by. I was like, man, this thing really is beautiful, isn't it? He always kept saying that. But now I'm reappreciating its beauty because now the frame rate is solid right now. And especially, this is a game that's not even 60, and it's so smooth at 30 that I'm not like one of those, man, give me my 60 frames, Rockstar, things like that. Like, I'm enjoying it in its cinematic presentation. I feel like now, I was talking with my friend Josh, who he was one that always kept telling me, because he replayed that game. And when we first played it back in 2018, we both had a similar kind of frustrations with it, but he went back to it. He was like, I don't know about you, but you should go back to Red Dead Redemption 2, like go through that story again. You'll be blown away. I was like, I just can remember, it was a long game. I remember my frustrations about it. I don't know if that would change. I would say I'm eating crow right now, because now that I'm playing it, and you know what I'm realizing? there's so much friction about that game in how slow it can be sometimes, like the laborious animations and things like that, that I'm reappreciating a little bit more, because in the years since Red Dead 2, I have gotten more open world games in the Ubisoft mold, checklist games, this system driven, like player authored games and things like that, that I am noticing that I'm really appreciating Red Dead's more relatively simple way that you go through missions. And I really also have to commend having played the San Andreas thing on Xbox One when I did that, because I also realizing that I'm not a Rockstar fan of the GTA side, I'm a Rockstar fan from the Red Dead side. The writing in Red Dead, I'm noticing it more and more. This is bar none the best written game ever made. There's so much writing, so much stuff I didn't even know what was happening in the camp, because I barely spent time in the camp.
That's part of like the best parts of it, sitting there while everyone's gathered around the campfire, talking with people, listening to their conversations,
or even just coming back to the camp just to chill, like after a mission, just passing by, because I want to give them add to like the camp economy, which by the way, this game's economy is so broken, but I don't care. Like, I don't really care that it's like not balanced, because it's not a game about grinding. I appreciate that I'm not grinding on anything about this game. I'm just existing in it. And what's funny is that it's not a simulation game per se, but I'm compelled to simulate in the world, despite it not really giving me much. Like, I was doing chores at the camp, like taking the hay here, cutting the wood.
My favorite thing was every morning I would drink a cup of coffee and get a scoop
get the soup
of
and
the
just
soup. I was like, that's my thing. That's what I do. And it felt so good to do.
And I don't know why every time that I take Arthur to sleep, when it goes night, I'm like, I make it a point to try to go back to camp and I sleep.
Yes.
And I don't know, there's such a, especially now with how I tweaked the HDR, that everything's like so dark, like so perfectly dark, but with what you can still say. And slowly go to sleep. And I'm like, I'm feeling sleepy right now, but like in a good way. Like it's inspiring, that feeling. And I'm like, back in 2018, when I wrote like my top 10 games, my top 10 favorite games of that year, and I put Red Dead at number 5. Actually, my top 5 was God of War, Spider-Man, Celeste, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and Red Dead. I'd be willing, just to put how I'm feeling right now, if I would go back to that list to like rearrange it, I would probably put this in number 2 now, because God of War is still such a special game for me that I don't know anything can ever like dethrone it for what it did to me for gaming. Like, re-energize my love for game. That's gonna be hard for me to not think how important that was for me continuing playing games when it hit. But now I'm like, is Red Dead 2 going from a game that I just kept crapping how I had schism about when I was playing it, to now probably being an all-time favorite? Man, I'm eating massive crow right now. That's
I will say, I
obviously
will give you a concession of, by the end of the game, let's see how you're still feeling.
Yeah, because it's a 60-hour game. But that's the thing. I remember feeling exhausted because I just wanted that game to be done. When you want a big, long-ass game to be done, you can sometimes feel the strain. And also, I realized what I did wrong when I played Red Dead 2 back in the day. There's 2 radical options. The normal one that has the dot and the circle.
Yeah.
And the one that just has the dot.
Yes.
I put the one that's just the dot. Massive mistake. This game has bloom, which means your bullets, like if you shoot your weapon, when the thing has the circle and it's not just the dot. I remember always keep shooting. I was like, why am I missing? I'm literally aiming. This time I did the normal reticle. I was like, I was an idiot. I was a complete idiot, because now I understand the gunplay. A little bit.
It's such a simple change, but it forces you to play more methodically, because if you aim, bang, you don't want to just fan it unless they're right in front of you, and then that's where you just go for it. But it's so cool, the tiniest detail.
And now I finally understand the core system. I never understood the difference between in the circle there's like the icon and the things to the side. Now I understand that I'm now more aware about keeping the things in the middle fully lighted up.
That's
because everything to the sides, think about it like a shield, and the one that empties, everything in the middle empties. I didn't understand that there. Now I do. So now there were many times when I originally played that game where I would get ambushed. You can get ambushed sometimes.
Yeah.
And also now I'm fully aware that every time that you go into your horse, just make sure you have your weapons ready, because they never get ready. So I had many times where I just left and I was like just pulling my gun. I was like, where's my repeater? Crap. I only have my handgun here.
Yep.
So obviously I would say that's an annoyance, but
it is. And sometimes, especially in story missions, if you have to respawn in the game, it'll only give you your pistols.
Yeah.
And you don't keep your rifles. I'm like, that's just such a dumb thing to do. Unless
that Red Dead
can,
1
like,
didn't do. And that's a problem, because Red Dead 1 didn't do that. So there's extra layer. I would say that I also replayed Red Dead 1 before Red Dead 2 back in 2018.
Yeah.
That's mistake.
That's another one.
That was a mistake, because then you're such in the mode of how non-simulation Red Dead 1 is, and then when you go to Red Dead 2, you have the muscle memory how you expect Red Dead 1 to feel. And I think that's sometimes a mistake because of the different way the game's paced.
Those two games are so night and day different that I didn't realize.
They don't seem that way when you look at them.
No.
And Red Dead 1's still one of my all-time favorites. Still, I replayed that. It's the one Rockstar game I replayed more times than any other Rockstar game.
Absolutely.
And I'm just glad that I'm doing Red Dead 2 now. And especially because the way Rockstar's treating Red Dead 2, I'm not in any way expecting a PS5 patch, for it to be like 60 frames or anything, because
I doubt it.
They've just been so focused on GTA anyway, which, by the way, I put it to download again because, again, I haven't played GTA 5 since 2013. So I just, out of curiosity, I was like, I want to see how this looks in PS5 just for curiosity. I know that game never got enhanced, but I kind of want to see it.
It's going to be a little dated. The animations are going to be all jacked up, but it's going to be a nice little window into 2013's idea of parody. Because it's a very different image of parody as to what we have now.
Yeah.
And I think that in itself is worth like a video essay, like
and
parody over the years.
Yeah, and I think with GTA 5, I mostly want to engage with GTA Online because it's something that I haven't engaged myself in ever. So I'm more curious about that.
Something that I almost suggest you and I go into together, because if you step in by yourself, it's almost like guaranteed.
Okay, Paul, go reinstall GTA 5 right now.
Crap.
now that you suggested it.
I know.
Reinstall Red Dead. Let's do Red Dead Online also. Let's see how that goes. I know it's gonna be a nightmare, but
all right.
I kind of want to see it.
I guess gotta go download a few things now. The problem with me is I still have GTA 5 on disc only, so I'm gonna have to
you have to put it in. Yeah.
Fish that out and get it to start.
Do you have Red Dead also on disc?
I had that digital, so
okay.
I might even still have that downloaded on my USB hard drives. So, but if not, I'll make. But
yeah, I've been like literally all this time. I've just been, because I was playing Red Dead before we started recording. After I came back home, after I had to come back home early for reasons, and then I just kept playing. I was like, why am I loving this so much? Like, it's really interesting sometimes when you're in a different mindset at a different point of time, how certain media can hit you different. That's why always be open-minded about things you probably didn't like at a certain point, because you don't know if maybe different life circumstances will change your opinions of stuff. I'm glad I'm doing that, because I was so excited for Red Dead 2 back in 2018. So excited. And when I wasn't feeling so over the moon about it, it really distressed me, because I was like, am I just wrong about how I really felt about Red Dead 1? But no, it's a game that doesn't conform to you. You have to conform to it. You have to know that. It's not a system. It's not a player-driven experience like you expect. And there's well-deserved criticism about it, because they're doing that kind of game when other games are doing that, especially in the post Breath of the Wild era that puts so much player agency front and center. I kind of appreciate that it's not that, because it gives it its own flavor. If you don't want a player experience, you want something a little bit more authored and not friction, like where the friction doesn't come from grinding, but from its mechanics or some of a different feel. That's Red Dead.
Yeah.
And now I'm appreciating that more. After I've told you how sick I am of open world games, I'm like, it's interesting. It's like I had the cure for that all along here. I just had to be in a different mindset. So that will
that is going to wrap it up for
Yeah.
us. Alejandro, thank you for your marathon of games. Honestly, you dabbled into just about every range of not just game but emotion in that process, and I'm greatly appreciative of it, because you got me to try out a few games. Over the years, you've convinced me to play and buy a few games, and you are learning to appreciate certain things that I've been clowned on in the past about. So
yeah,
I'm
I like
feeling
eating.
good
I,
today.
I like when I can eat crow, well-deserved crow.
But I'm also eating a little bit of crow because of Battlefield 2042.
Yes,
So
I warned you.
It's a little even there.
I did warn you on that one. So
You
after
did,
that beta.
and I was being very absolutely not wanting to listen to it. But you did also convince me to try out Doom Eternal finally. So
yes, I can't wait to hear more from Doom Eternal, and text us your experiences, because that's.
I'm looking forward to just getting further into just about everything now, and I'm going to have
and I can't wait to eventually get Zach back. I wonder what he's been playing.
I'm curious too, because he's been dabbling more into gaming, and I want to hear about. I mean, I might not even want to wait. I might just ask him in chat, be like, "Hey, what you been playing?
What you've been playing? You've been like kind of quiet."
I know. But as always, I appreciate it. Where can people find you, Alejandro?
They can find me at _Segovia on Twitter, Alejandro Segovia 93 on Instagram, and the Slayer Giant at Twitch.
And as always, y'all can find me at Dork of Art on Twitter, also Dork of Art on YouTube, and Angel Sword 21 on Twitch. Well, that has been it, everybody. Thank you, Alejandro, and thank you, everybody who has watched or listened to this. And until then, press X
to play, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Good night, everybody.
Adios.